United States, the state of Tennessee, in this honorable court. You may be seated and come to order.
Thank you. Y'all can sit down. Y'all need to stand up.
We were told, Your Honor, to be in here if we were going to testify, and so we just walked in. There's not room.
Welcome, glad you're here.
Thank you.
If y'all will be kind enough to wait out in the hall, we'll call you when we're ready to hear from you. Thank you.
Yeah, I believe there's some other people that are also under subpoena that are here.
Okay, if anybody's gonna be a witness in this case, a potential witness, if you'll step out in the hall as
John
well,
Loesch.
and we'll call you when we're ready to hear from you. All right, welcome. Just so y'all don't know me, so let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Don Ash. I was raised in Lebanon, Tennessee. Went to law school at Middle Tennessee State University. Then I went to, went to undergraduate school at Middle Tennessee State University. Then I went to law school at the University of Memphis. In 1994, I was elected a trial judge in Rutherford County. Did that for 18 years. In the past 8 years, I've been a senior judge for the state of Tennessee. And what that means is basically I travel across the state and try cases where there are conflicts or judges recuse themselves or something like that. It's a great job. You get to find out. I never understood what a beautiful state we live in, but Tennessee is spectacular. And I try to stay off the interstates now, just take the back roads and enjoy the journey of life and travel on the road some. So it's a great job. Just personally, I don't really allow outbursts in court. I understand this is an emotional case, and I respect that, but not TV court. This is a special place to me, and a special place to these lawyers and to these victims and to the defendant. And so we're going to all act like ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't, then you can't be in here. And I'm not being disrespectful to you, but you just can't be in here. So if you're so upset by all this that you can't handle being in here, then you need to leave. Because if you misbehave, then there's a consequence, and I don't want that. I don't want that consequence. The attorneys here have done a fantastic job. I read a lot, so they filed all these things with me. I've read everything. They're going to give me a copy of the transcript of the trial. I've got one in there already, but they're going to give that to me so I can review that as well. And I really appreciate the efforts of both sides of this with the excellent work that they've done to help me. Also today helping me is Susan Jones. Ms. Jones is over here. Ms. Jones is a capital case attorney, and she's been doing it for over 2 decades. And she and I have had the opportunity to work together, gosh, several times. And she's brilliant, so that makes me be smarter by hanging around somebody brilliant, so I appreciate her. The procedure that we're going to do today is, just so that you'll know, I talked to the counsel before we got started. Can I help you with something? Okay. Well, I'll wait till you get done.
Oh, it would help to hear you talk.
Keep talking. Test 1, 2. Led Zeppelin. Doobie Brothers 1, 2, 3. Ideally, we would have done this before court started. Okay, so I'll try to wrap it up. So I've talked to counsel about procedure, about how they want to proceed today. And so they tell me that they want to do the supplemental part first, and that's in regard to the state. And so I'm going to let the state do that. I'll let them put on their proof the way, or I'm sorry, let the defense do that, so they can call which witnesses they want to. So I'm going to handle that issue first, and then we've got the other issues that I'll handle after I finish that. I know there's a motion to quash some witnesses here.
We have, Your Honor.
And what I'll do is I'll hear that when we get ready to call those witnesses.
Very well.
Okay? All right. Anything from the state preliminarily before we get started?
Just our motion to quash witnesses. I just didn't feel like they needed to sit here all day, but if we're gonna go first with that, then I guess.
And anything from the defense before we start?
Judge, I guess I'd just be clear for the record that I know you asked some people to step out, but we would formally ask for the Rule 615 sequestration and ask that you instruct any
Like I
witnesses.
just did.
I did, but I'd also ask that you would instruct them when they leave not to talk to the witnesses out in the hallway.
If you remind me, that'll help.
I will, Judge, thank you.
Okay. So who's going to be your first witness?
Call Mark Gibson.
Okay. Is he out calling us? I may need one of the deputies to go out and get Mr. Gibbs. Is that acceptable?
I'm sorry. Your Honor, Lieutenant Gibbs is who we'll be calling first.
Lieutenant Gibbs?
Yes.
Hey, it's gonna be Lieutenant Gibbs, if we can get Lieutenant Gibbs instead of Gibson in here. Yes, not Gibson, Gibbs. Yeah, come over and just.
Sir, if you'll step up here next to me, please. All the way up here. Sir, if you'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do. Thank you. Have a seat. Could you tell me your first name and last name and spell them both?
Daniel Gibbs, D-A-N-I-E-L-G-I-B-B-S.
Thank you. Any questions, Counselor?
Yes, Judge. Lieutenant Gibbs, what was your connection to this case?
I was the lead detective.
Can you tell me the date of the shooting?
October 31st of 2016.
Did you handle the case through indictment and trial?
Correct.
Currently, it is still assigned to you as your case?
Yes, sir.
Were you involved in presenting the case to the grand jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall when that was?
June of 17. If I can refer to my notes, I can give you the date in June.
Now, you've been working for the police department for how long?
15 years.
Okay. You're familiar with the process of the grand jury?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar with the name Beverly Johnson?
Beverly Johnson.
Was she the grand jury foreman?
Possibly.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach?
Sure.
I'd like to mark this Exhibit 1 for purposes of identification.
She's gonna mark it.
I'm going to present you what's been marked Exhibit 1 for purposes of identification. Do you recognize that document?
I do.
Okay. What is that document?
That's the filing for what we presented to the grand jury.
Okay. Do you have any contact with the grand jury foreman while you're in the process of presenting cases?
No.
Does the name Beverly Johnson appear by signature as the foreman?
If that is this signature showing foreman, I could not make that signature out.
Okay. The name Beverly Johnson, is it a name you're familiar with?
Not that I'm familiar with.
Okay. Do you recall who the grand jury foreman was from August 2015 to August 2017?
No.
Had you presented a lot of cases during that period of time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I told you her name, that Beverly Foreman was the grand jury foreman, would you have any reason to disagree with me?
No, sir.
Your Honor, would you like these set here for now?
Thank you very much.
Now, when this case first fell into your lap, obviously, as the lead detective, this would be, for a lack of better words, a controversial case, a high-profile case, correct?
I did not know that at the time because I didn't know how popular the victim was in the town, but I learned that later on into the case.
Okay, and there were people for the defendant, Miranda Cheatham, and there were people for or against her, wanting her to be charged?
There was both sides. There was friends of the victim, friends of the defendant.
Okay. Obviously, your job was to collect evidence, pursue a case as you found the evidence led.
Correct.
Okay. Did the name John Loesch ever come up?
It did.
Okay. Who is he?
He would be the deceased half-brother. The deceased half-brother.
Okay. Did the name Dana Cheatham, I think now Dana Cheatham Pritchard, that ever come up?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever have meetings with them?
I did.
Okay. Were they considered next of kin?
I used Connie, the victim's mother, as the next of kin, but yes, they were related.
Okay. Now, the victim was James Cheatham, correct?
Yes, sir.
also known as tutor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did he have children?
He did.
How many?
2 that I know of.
Okay. Did you stay in contact with them while
I did have contact with the daughter, Jade,
Jada?
early on in the investigation.
I'm going to ask, what was your impression as to John Loesch's interest in this case?
When you work a homicide, you'll end up, there'll be a spokesperson for each side of the family. Now, this one was a little unique because there was more than 2 sides, because I believe the victim had a mother and a father that were divorced. So there was the third dynamic, if you will. Mr. Loesch was the point of contact for the mother.
Would it naturally be that the next of kin would be the children?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. The children in this case, though, were in support of their mother, the defendant, Miranda Cheatham, correct?
Yes.
And you figured that out how?
Well, we talked to Jade. We interviewed Jade. We did not interview Jairus, the son, because of his age. The Children's Advocacy Center interviewed him.
Okay. So when you talked with Jade, did you get the impression that she felt her mother's actions were justified?
Judge, I don't know where we're going with all this, but I think we're kind of well far what I thought we were here on the Rule 16.
Right, what I'll do is I'll overrule it this time, but Mr. Zimmerman, if this continues, if you'll stand up and make that same objection again, okay? Go ahead, counsel.
All right, I'd like to go to John Loesch. You said you had meetings with him. This would have been after the shooting on October 31st, 2016.
Yes, sir.
Were those meetings before the indictment on June 21st, 2017?
When you say meetings, I call them interviews, but yes.
Whatever you term them as.
Okay, interviews, yes, before the indictment.
And did he want the defendant charged with a crime?
Yes.
Okay. Did he want her charged with first-degree murder?
He just wanted her charged.
Okay. He never identified what kind of offense he was seeking.
As an investigator, being the point of contact between families of homicide victims, defendants, they come to the lead detective first. So sometimes I would have to explain, this is the criteria for first, this is the criteria for second, this is our criteria for manslaughter, so on and so forth. So I did explain throughout the process of this investigation what different charges were.
Okay. Dana Cheatham, did you also have interviews with her?
I believe I had one interview with her, and I believe her biological father and mother was present during that interview.
Okay. And was it your impression from her that she was seeking a charge and or conviction of the defendant Miranda Cheatham?
I do not recall her expressing any emotion either way.
Either way,
Yes, sir.
whether she did or didn't, it wasn't apparent to you?
No, it was not.
Okay. Prior to the indictment of June 21st, 2017, did John Loesch come to the police department and drop off an item?
He did.
Okay, what item did he drop off?
A disc.
A disc. And what did you do with that disc when you got it?
Well, I questioned him about what is this. It was a unannounced visit. Usually he would call and say, hey, I need to talk to you about, you need to talk to so-and-so, you need to talk to so-and-so, but he would call. This one was unannounced. So I'm in the front lobby of the police department, and he explained to me what was on the disc. I explained to him, what does he want me to do with that disc? And he wanted me to have the disc.
He wanted you to have the disc?
Yes.
How did he explain what was on the disc?
He said that he had a secret recording of he and Dana Cheatham / Pritchard, Cheatham at the time, and she is disclosing to him about an alleged affair years before this murder.
Okay. Did he explain to you that Miss Dana Cheatham was willing to go public with the affair if the prosecution didn't move forward?
He did not describe that to me in the lobby of the police department.
Okay. Did he tell you why he wanted you to have it?
No, I explained to him in the front lobby before I took possession of it that if he insists on me taking possession of it, that I would send that up the chain of command immediately. Therefore, I'm confident they will contact General Crump's office.
So when he drops this tape off or this recording off, you made it clear to him that this recording will end up in front of or told to the district attorney's office.
I was sent it up the chain, and I was confident that they would contact the district attorney's
So
office.
he knew that when he handed you the CD,
He did,
and then he handed you the CD.
yes.
And did you listen to the CD?
I did not.
What was the reason you didn't listen to it?
What he described to me was on the disc, had absolutely nothing to do with the homicide that I was investigating.
Okay, at this point, Miranda Cheatham had not been charged with a crime.
No, she is not.
It was still, for a lack of better words, under investigation.
Yes,
You were still in the collection of evidence.
yes. Collection or waiting to receive the findings of the evidence collected from the TBI.
Okay, you were waiting for evidence to be returned that you had submitted to the TBI for forensic, ballistic, DNA testing.
Yes, sir.
Those items had not come back yet.
I believe they came back in stages.
Okay, but they hadn't come back when the tape was received, or this.
I believe some of them have, some of the evidence collected had been returned.
Do you recall when Mr. Loesch came into your department and handed this to you?
I do.
Your Honor, for purposes of just demonstrating, may I write some of this on the board so I can keep these timelines straight?
No, sir, I got it.
Very good.
If I get to where I'm not, I'll tell you to put them on there.
Thank you, Judge. All right, so October 31st, 2016, the shooting of James Tudor Cheatham. That's the date it happened.
Yes, sir.
The date you received this tape was when?
5/31 of 17, May 31st of 17.
Okay. And you didn't listen to it,
No, sir.
but you sent it up the chain.
I walked back inside, got my immediate supervisor at the time, Lieutenant Dean Beverly. I said, hey, this is what he says is on this. And we went upstairs to the section of the police department where the administration is. We walked in Captain Harbison's office, which was Lieutenant's immediate supervisor, and then he called for Chief Gibson to come to his office.
And all you recall Mr. Loesch describing this recording was that Dana Cheatham, now Dana Cheatham Pritchard, is disclosing an affair with the then elected district attorney.
Yes.
He didn't explain any other reason why he wanted it in your hands?
No.
Okay. This is not a tape you listened to prior to trial?
It was not.
Let me ask this a little bit more, a little differently. This was not a CD or a recording that you had listened to prior to indictment?
It was not.
This was not a recording that you'd listened to at any point prior to the trial?
I did not listen to it.
And when did the trial take place?
January of 19.
January 15th to the 23rd, something in that
Yes, sir.
range?
Yes, sir.
Had you subsequently listened to it after the trial?
I did.
Okay. Do you recall my office, as part of a Freedom of Information Act, requesting this CD?
Yes.
Did you in fact provide it to my office?
A female came up from your office and I handed it to her. She signed the form that we have that she has received the disc. I do not know what her name is.
Your Honor, I'd like to mark this
If we could mark for identification, Judge,
Sure.
as Exhibit 2.
for identification.
Right. We'll see if we can identify.
Do you see the CD and its notes on it? Do you recognize what that CD is?
It's a CD, yes.
Would you need to listen to the contents of it to tell whether or not it's the CD in fact you provided or the recorded conversation you provided?
Yes.
Your Honor,
That's a fact.
at this point, I'd like to play the CD.
Sure.
Once the CD begins to play, Lieutenant, I'm going to stop to make sure that what is on this CD is what you recall as the recording you were in possession of.
Judge, we have an objection. If the witness needs to authenticate, can we ask the witness to do it outside the presence of all this media? Playing the tape has not been authenticated by any of the speakers, anybody about it. It's not offered into evidence yet. Now, he can say that this is the CD he gave, but he can't say it's a complete conversation recording. He can't say necessarily be able to identify the speakers, I don't know.
I think what he could say though is, this is the CD that he listened to after the trial, and limit it just to that. I'm not saying.
That's fine.
I'm not saying.
I just don't want it, it has some pretty salacious, and we're advised by Mr. Rogers, the attorney for one of the speakers, that the statements are not true.
Well, Judge, we're not into that issue at this point.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna allow him to play it just for the limited purpose of that he listened to it. I'm not saying any of it's true. I'm not saying who these people are, because I don't know who anybody is. I'm just gonna play for that limited purpose. Okay? Go ahead.
Maybe the witness can step over to the computer, if he can hear it there.
Yeah, you can't hear what it is.
You don't carry knives. Is she screwing Trump on Trump?
I've heard that.
Is she screwing him?
That leaking authenticated now.
I don't know.
I don't understand what this is.
I know that's what Jim Brewer said.
Let's stop it. So I thought this was a phone call. There's conversations going on before the phone call.
I'm sorry, Judge, this appears to be a recording inside a car that is being recorded by John Loesch.
Okay, so it's not a phone call.
No.
It's a conversation
between two people that was turned over to the police prior to indictment.
Okay. Are we gonna start hearing part of the conversation?
We're gonna play the whole tape and play it into the record.
Does it start soon?
It's an hour and a half.
Judge, I don't believe it's an hour and a half at all. But yeah, we're gonna play it.
No, sir.
I'm sorry,
How
Judge.
long is it?
30 minutes, 34 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Start back up. Note your objection. Go ahead.
Something's going on up there that I gotta find out about. She's screwing him, or something's going on up here at that thing. Well, this thing is being held up. Tell me something. You gotta know something. You know something. Tell me. You gotta know something. Tell me what's going on.
I don't know anything, honestly.
We'll stop there.
I don't think he would do anything stupid.
I'm gonna sustain your objection. I'll let him put it on when they've got a person that can identify.
I think the officer can say, that sounds like the disc I gave the defense lawyer, but.
Like I said, it'd just be clear to have the person, it's better testimony to have the person that can identify. And do you have that person here?
We have one of the parties here.
Perfect.
Okay. But Judge, I'll ask some questions because we may be able to introduce it through him. I'll hear his responses. Lieutenant, have you, in the course of your investigation, been able to identify who these people are on the tape?
I'm familiar with the male voice is Mr. Loesch. I do not understand the female voice enough to make a determination who that is.
Have you asked anybody on who it is?
No.
You have no idea who that would be?
I have the idea after everything has come out that could be Dana Cheatham. I only interviewed her one time, so I cannot.
But you can identify John Loesch as the person in the recording that is getting information from at this point, from your perspective, a unidentified female?
Yes.
Your Honor, I believe we set a ground at that point, because this tape was provided to go ahead and play the
I disagree.
You disagree?
I do.
Okay.
But I'll let you play it when you get one of your other, I'm not saying you can't play it, just play it to another witness.
I understand, Judge.
Okay?
So, one second, Judge.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to ask a little bit of your training with regard to collection of evidence. When you collect a piece of evidence, do you present it to the district attorney's office, make them aware of it?
An individual piece of evidence?
Whatever it might be on a particular case like this case here?
I don't collect evidence. That would be a crime scene technician. But they collect it, give it to me for...
And you're the lead homicide detective on this case?
Yes, sir.
As such, you either would or should know everything being done by other members of your team?
Yes.
Which is including crime scene collection personnel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all of it kind of funnels up to you as the lead homicide detective on a particular case?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what do you do with the information that you receive?
Well, I will make copies of any evidence logs. I will make copies of any written statements, and I will put everything in it's a digital copy and a hard copy for myself.
Okay. Do you maintain a master file?
I do.
Okay. Is at some point that master file communicated to the district attorney's office?
It is.
Was this tape put in the master file?
It was not.
Okay. Are you trained on, have you had formal training in any way on Rule 16 of the Tennessee Rules of Criminal Procedure?
I'm sure it's been brought up in some class that I've went to on investigations.
Okay. Are there reasons to have pieces of evidence in a file other than determining who is responsible for a killing in this case? For instance, whether there's conflicts of interest. Are you trained on that?
Not necessarily, no.
Who makes the decision on that?
Are we talking about this piece, this disc, or in general?
Well, let's just talk in general for a start.
Can you give me an example of something?
Okay, well then we'll go to the disc. In this particular case, if this disc represented a conflict of interest for the district attorney's office, that's not a decision you would make, is it?
Yeah, I would not make that decision.
Who would make that decision?
I'm assuming the district attorney would make that decision.
So it's important in this case that a district attorney or a member of the district attorney's office is aware of information so they can make a decision on a conflict of interest.
Yes.
But you did not keep this as part of the master file.
I did not.
You kept it as a separate file.
I kept the disc separate.
Okay.
Yes.
At all times after you received it, the Cleveland Police Department was maintaining control of this disc and conversation.
When I took that to my supervisor and we went upstairs and I dropped that copy of that disc off, at that time I had no other copy of the disc. I went back to my office.
Yeah. Your supervisor is part of the Cleveland Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any reason to believe that this information was ever, other than my request, communicated to anyone outside of the Cleveland Police Department?
Yes, they contacted, our chief of police contacted General Crump.
Okay.
That
And was
day.
it communicated to him, well, this the content of this tape?
I wasn't part of that conversation.
Okay. Prior to trial, did you make a determination on the evidentiary value of this recording?
No.
Prior to, who was the lead prosecutor at trial?
Cody Wamp.
Prior to the trial, did you discuss in any way this recording and or its contents with Ms. Wamp?
Yes.
What did you discuss with her?
This would probably be November-ish of 18. She was assigned to the case. And the first time that we started talking about the case, I had a list of people that I've interviewed. And then when we got to Dana Cheatham's, and I'm describing her how each person plays a role on my list of witnesses. And we got to Dana Cheatham's name. I said, hey, this is the one that's referred to on the disc. She did not know what I was talking about.
Do you recall whether you guys discussed it any more than that? Did she say, well, what is it?
Yeah, I explained to her what Mr. Loesch told me.
Okay, you did not explain to her the contents of the recording.
Just how Mr. Loesch explained it to me.
Because at that point you hadn't listened to the recording.
That's correct.
Do you know whether Ms. Wamp had listened to the recording?
She was surprised that day, so I'm assuming she had not.
Okay, and between the two of you, were you able to determine the evidentiary value with regard to this case?
No, that wasn't brought up.
Okay, there was no decision, we need to listen to it, what's on it, what does it say, does it have anything to do with the case? None of those questions were being asked?
Between me and Cody?
Ms. Wamp?
No.
Okay. This was still in your possession in the November-ish 2018 prior to trial?
Yes, sir.
And
One second. It was in your possession or in the Cleveland Police Department?
Well, it was back in my possession because the day that I went up to the chain of command, went back to my office, Chief Gibson called me back up to get the disc, go back to my office to make a second copy for the disc. At that time, he told me General Crump was on his way over.
So, but counsel asked, so you had a second copy of the disc?
I did, yeah.
All right. Sorry to interrupt, sir. Go ahead.
Not the original, the copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
who maintained the original?
I left that in Chief Gibson and in Captain Harbison's office.
Okay. But it's clear to say that this recorded conversation disc was never provided, to the best of your information, to anybody on the defense team
That is correct.
for inspection or review.
Not that I'm aware of.
You did mention to the lead prosecutor of the homicide case, Ms. Cody Wamp, the existence of the tape, though.
I did.
Did you mention it to anybody, whether you provided it or not? Did you mention it to anybody on the defense team?
I did not.
Whose decision was it to present the case to the grand jury?
I'm assuming the district attorney's office.
Okay. Would it be fair to say it was Stephen Crump's?
Yes.
And in prior testimony, I think you said it was Stephen Crump's decision as to when to indict.
Yes.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues prior to the indictment. So you received the tape in May 31st, 2017.
Yes, sir.
When was the next, and are you aware when Mr. Crump was made aware of this recording?
The day that I took possession of it.
May 31st, would that be a good date?
Yes.
That, to the best of your understanding, Mr. Crump was made aware of this recording?
Yes.
When is the next available grand jury after May 31st, 2018? Is there a normal day you do grand juries on?
when I was a detective, I believe it was the third Wednesday of every month.
Okay. So the next available opportunity for indictment after this recording was received would have been June 21st, 2018.
17,
Or 17, I apologize. June 21st, 2017.
yes.
So after the recording was obtained, the next grand jury, Miranda Cheatham was indicted for the murder of James Cheatham.
Yes.
You've been to the grand jury several times, many times. You've been doing this a long time. How are you normally told when a case is to go to the grand jury?
Neha Scott is a representative from the district attorney's office. She would email. I don't know if I've received a phone call before, but on this particular case, she called me.
Okay.
Usually it's an email or word of mouth. If I'm in the DA's office dropping something off, hey, we got you on the docket for next grand jury on such and such case. So sometime, anyway.
Okay. Is it fair to say that typically 7 to 10 days before the grand jury, you're informed by email on who's going to be indicted in that session?
Yes, she sends a docket list out with the detective's name and what case it is.
Okay. That's not how this case was handled, is it?
No.
In fact, this case, you received a phone call 2 days before the grand jury
That's correct.
from Neha Scott,
Yes.
who's General Crump's personal assistant, telling you to indict Miranda Cheatham.
Telling me to indict her? No, she said you're presenting the case.
Telling you to present the case to the grand jury, and that's unusual because normally you'd get an email 7 to 10 days beforehand.
Not unusual in sense because they have pushed child abuse cases to the docket that wasn't originally on the docket. If a piece of evidence comes back or something and they don't want to wait a whole nother month, they might throw something on the docket at the last second.
This grand jury presentation was somewhat abnormal to your normal procedure.
I would disagree with that.
Okay. 1 second, Judge.
Sure.
Pass the witness. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Just briefly, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Morning, Lieutenant Gibbs.
Good morning.
Lieutenant, you had mentioned that the case had taken several months in its investigation, that you were waiting on some lab reports. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Shortly before you presented the grand jury, had you received any such lab reports?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain what those were?
Can I refer to my notes?
Absolutely.
I received the official microanalysis report on 6/16.
6/16?
Yes.
And what did that pertain to specifically?
That included the gunshot residue kit from Miss Cheatham, the gunshot residue kit from Jairus Cheatham, and the clothing and sandals of both that I just listed, Jairus Cheatham and Miranda Cheatham.
And based on the defendant's statement that you had taken earlier at police headquarters on the day of the offense, did you feel that that report was pertinent to the investigation?
All the reports are very important, yes.
Well, was this one specific?
It was, yes.
Okay. And that was the day before you presented to the grand jury? 6/16, did you say?
6/16, I don't remember when the grand jury, 6/21 or 6/17.
Okay, all right. But
It was
shortly.
Yes, shortly before,
Okay.
yes.
And would it be fair to say that you were in contact with the district attorney's office about waiting on the reports before the matter was presented to the grand jury?
Yes.
Okay. No further questions.
Recalls. I'm sorry. Read.
There were other reports that were not back.
That's correct.
So you didn't have all the reports back yet?
I did not.
Okay. No further questions.
All right. Any further questions?
Yeah, we'd like to, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. We were gonna ask that we can keep him possibly for rebuttal based on the witnesses.
Okay, so, here's our deal. Don't tell anybody about what you testified to today. If you don't mind hanging around, we may call you back.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Nice meeting you, sir. Thank you very
Nice
much.
to meet you, sir.
Who's next?
Call Dana Cheatham, Pritchard.
One of my deputies can call out there. Get us, Ms. Pritchard, please. And if you'll step up here next to me, please. You'll raise your right hand. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go to the seat right there. If you'll speak up in that microphone, that'll help me hear a little bit. And if you'll tell me your first name and last name and spell them both.
Dana Cheatham Pritchard.
Scoot up. Perfect. A little bit louder.
Dana Cheatham Pritchard.
Spell it for me.
D-A-N-A Pritchard. P-R-I-T-C-H-A-R-D.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Ms. Pritchard, what is your relationship to James Tudor Cheatham?
Stepbrother.
He's your stepbrother? Who is
Or
John Loesch?
half-brother. Half-brother.
Half-brother. Who is John Loesch?
That would be Tudor's half-brother.
You're Tudor's half-sister, he's Tudor's half-brother. Are you and Mr. Loesch blood related?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that he had secretly recorded you in a car?
No, sir.
Okay. If I play a tape, would you be able to identify your voice on the tape?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, we'd like to use Exhibit 2 for identification purposes.
Okay.
Got the trial because of the.
Do you recognize that voice?
Yes.
Whose voice is that?
Mine.
Your Honor, at this point, I think we've identified John Loesch and Dana Cheatham Pritchard on it. We'd like to go back and play the tape from the beginning.
Any objection?
Well, she has heard it, I think, in her lawyer's office. No objection.
Okay, I'll let you play the tape. Thank you.
We have to move it into evidence at this point.
Sure.
Your Honor, I have a certified transcript of this recording for the court's convenience. Would the court like me to provide it for your following along?
Sir?
They have a transcript and objection to that?
No,
I've provided
I don't want to make
it.
an exhibit, but I don't have
It's
it.
part of the next number exhibit.
Okay, Exhibit number 3, and this is for your convenience, Judge.
I appreciate it.
And I
If it
did
can be
provide
marked
to the
for
state a
identification.
copy of it.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Yes. May we go forward with the playing? Playing of the tape, Judge? May we go
Please.
forward? Okay.
It would help if we gave the witness.
Oh, do you want her to send the transcript?
If it's going to be considered by the judge, do you want the witness to be able to follow along or not?
Do you have an objection to it?
I have no objection to
Okay,
it.
sure. I'm not exactly sure where we're starting on this.
There'll be indistinct chattering in the beginning, and then
Okay, we're there.
Okay, and then when they get in the car, it'll be clear sounding, and
call you soon?
And as soon as we get done with this chatter.
Okay.
Yes, Judge.
Is she screwing, Trump?
I've heard that.
Is she screwing anything?
I don't think so. I don't know. I know that's what Jim Brewer said, but I don't know.
Something's going on up there that I gotta find out about. She's screwing him, or, something's going on up here at that thing. Well, this thing has been held up. Tell me something. You gotta know something. You know crime. Tell me. You gotta know something. Tell me what's going on.
I don't know anything, honestly. Crap, I don't think he would do anything stupid to fuck up the trial because of the fact that he was my lawyer for, what, 3.5 years? I don't think he would do anything stupid to mess it up. And I've already come out with Karen Hodges. From Jeff Brewer told me about it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something what I heard. I heard you're messing with him. I heard you're screwing around with him. That's what I heard. I heard that.
From who?
Let me tell you this. I ain't trying to be anyone. I got pictures of you and Crump together. I got them. I'm serious, I got them. I'm serious, man. I got them. Tell me the truth. I just want to know the truth. Tell me the truth. I got pictures.
We had an affair 4 years ago when he was my lawyer. That's when he became my lawyer. That's why I said I don't think he would fuck over, because he knows that I could bring it up. And that's why I told Daddy and Tracy that if I had to, I would go full wrong with it.
Yeah.
And make myself out there.
Yeah, but it's not flipped.
Yeah.
It's actually worse with together.
That we did before. And fuck his whole life up. I just don't think he would take it in that, I don't think he would take it to that level because of the fact that he knows that I could get him in trouble.
See, what pisses me off about it, I got goddamn pictures of Karen Hodge with him and you with him in different places.
That's not the one place I was at with
That's
him.
okay. I got pictures. I got them. How? Are you on my side, or are you trying to play him too?
I'm not trying to play him because I don't talk to him anymore. We had a big falling out when he screwed over my whole entire case and I had to get a new lawyer. He knew he had screwed up so bad on my case when he got elected DA. He gave me the $2,000 to go pay Elizabeth Adams to be my lawyer because he knew he had screwed up.
Oh, he gave you the money.
He gave me the money to go pay her because he knew he had fucked up. My case has been going on for 5 years. Like I said, this happened in 2012. This has been 5 years ago. Yeah, it's nothing, I mean, it's 2012.
Jealousy. I just want my brother.
And that's why I don't think, and that's what I told Daddy, even if he was screwing Karen Hodges, I think he knows me well enough. And I threatened him. I sent you those messages. I threatened him. Like I told him, I would do at all costs, whatever it took, to make sure everybody knew
That he was having an affair.
that he was doing something.
Yeah.
I said, I don't want to, I'm not trying to threaten you. I said, but I will tell you.
So you told Frank, did you?
Yes, I told Frank that. When my dad was right there with me. not in the presence, but I love him. And I kept telling myself I would do it at all costs. And that's when he sent me that big long text message, which I sent it to you. I don't have any more. Talking about, well, you want everything redone properly, and justice will be served, I promise you, it will be done. That's what was said. Because I went to him and told him that I would do that.
Yeah, that you bust him out with his own lady and stuff.
Yeah, because I know Teresa. I know his kids. I know the soldiers on his kids, his wife,
Yeah.
his kid's boyfriend. Because Teresa or Sarah goes to UTC. I mean, I know the whole family.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I will. I said, don't put it past me. So I don't think.
Let's tell you what gets me about it. I think Karen Hodges is doing it too with him.
And she might be.
Yeah, I've heard.
Maybe.
Listen, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've heard so much. Karen Hodges is doing it with him, and now get this stuff, you're messing with him, and that pisses me off so fucking bad, man. This is my damn brother's. This is my brother's life right here. I mean, this depends on him. I mean, I think he's playing on Karen Hodges' side, and he don't want to make you mad neither. He's trying to do both girls. You know what I'm saying?
I don't care to make it public. I'm not married. I'm not anything. I don't care to throw it out there.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of it. And I told Daddy and Tracy, I said, if it all comes out, I said, worst case is, I might have to move for a little while or something. I don't know. But I will not allow him to do something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And I told Steve Crump, and he knows me well enough.
Yeah, he knows you. He
knows I have a short temper.
And he knows you will come out on his ass.
Yes, he does. So I really don't think he would do that. He would put himself in that position with Karen Bledsoe, because I think he knows that I will. I've heard that they screwed around a long time ago, which might be true. I don't know. Mine was in 2012. I can tell you when, where, it was in 2012.
Have you told him recently anything? If he don't get something done, you're going to.
This was within the last 6 months. I've told him that.
Since this has been going on.
Because I told him, like I told him, I said, you know me well enough that
You're going to bust him out on the fair. If I mean, it's. But I think Karen Hodges in it somewhere. She's involved in this too. She's doing something with him. So it's some kind of two police officers in Cleveland seen her with him. I'm sure. And they told Detective Gibbs about it, And you don't know about the phone call I got the other day, did you? 8 o'clock. Dude, I was at work. I couldn't hardly hear the dude talking to me. I didn't know what to call me unknown. It's a guy now. It's a guy, call me unknown, told me that while your case is being held up on the tour, it's because Karen Hodges is screwing front.
So I've heard that twice already.
Yeah. That's what they kind of told me, and I didn't know who it was on the phone. I didn't know who it was. I couldn't recognize the voice or nothing. That's all he said to me. That's the holdup, dude. That's all he said. And now get these. I got 2 pictures now of you. I got them. I promise you, I got them.
Well, you gotta keep them. I will use them against him. I promise you.
I'm not going.
I'm gonna say I have pictures, but I can show dates and stuff, and I know exactly about him, but I don't have pictures because I didn't know that there were pictures. But like I said, I don't care.
I'm not trying to bust you out. I'm not trying to bust you out nothing like that. I just want to get to the truth, man.
Why?
You know how I feel about Twitter. You know how I feel about
But
it.
that's like I told my dad and stepmom, because I told them a long time ago, like in December.
Yeah.
I said, Dad, he don't want to piss me off.
Yeah.
Because I'm not afraid to go out and do something.
Yeah.
Because I look like the innocent victim because he held my case up for 3 years and fucked me on my court case. I promise you, it'll make him look 10 times worse than he ever thought about taking.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna tell you, Karen Bledsoe has nothing on him compared to what I could do to him.
Really?
I mean, because like I said, he had my case for 3 years. We never even had one trial, one nothing.
Really? What was he doing? Just screwing you for representing or something? What was he doing? I mean, what was going on?
It took forever. Oh, well, then, do massages on my wife, do massages on my kids,
Yeah.
But that's what I did. I didn't charge him anything.
Yeah.
I did massages on his wife, his kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, I don't care.
How did it first start? How did it hook up?
He did that. It was when I was trying to file for a child support against Steve.
Up there acting like he's putting a big front on, like he's some Christian and everything. I done checked him out. He's a piece of shit.
He is. And I heard that he's having an affair with somebody in Nashville also. I don't know who she is, but.
We're having an affair with somebody in Nashville too. Yeah, he's a piece of crap, man. He is a piece of crap. It's, you know, man. All this shit right here. This the only thing that my brother's case held up. They know my brother ain't gonna murder. I mean, they know he was murdered. Cleveland Police Department knows he was murdered. They know it. And he won't do nothing about it. Because I think he's fucking Karen Bledsoe.
Does Detective Gibbs have those 2 pieces of paper that?
Hey, they already given the case call. Give the whole case call. He's still not doing nothing. He's got it now. He got it now. I talked to him. He got it the day after. So I called him. I said, why ain't that case file been sent to Crump? You know, I told him, why ain't that been sent over there? He said, they told me don't send nothing over there until I got everything. I said, well, he's sitting over there lying to us then. Because he said, you ain't never sent him a case file over here. He said, I'll send it right now. He said, pissed his me off. He didn't give that down.
I called Gibbs and see if he sent it.
He's already sent it over to him. And look, yeah, the guy did, the investigator did. He sent it back over there. We don't need this until we get everything complete. And he said, well, y'all told John that y'all wanted to take all over there. You know? And he didn't say that. Did he not say that? They sit there and lie. Man, that's what gives me. They ain't nothing but a bunch of lying pieces of shit up there, man. Can't believe nothing they say. Oh, man. It's crazy.
So what do they do? I mean, what is the 2 pieces?
I don't know.
Gibbs knows exactly what it is.
Yeah, he does. He said a GSR and something else. He had to get. That was the only 2 pieces left. He said, there's enough evidence right now to get her for first-degree murder right now that I have right now in my presence for first-degree murder. And Crump won't do nothing about it. Yeah, tell me that. And that's why I was wondering if Karen Hodges sleeping with him on that way, and he's scared to go that way, or you sleeping with him and scared to go that way. You know what I mean? He's in limbo. He don't know which way to. He don't know which one to you know, somebody's gonna bust him out. He don't know which one's gonna bust him out. He don't know which way to go. You know what I'm saying?
I wonder if that ain't crazy.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I told that ain't crazy. I would get him pulled off the case. Because that's what I needed to do. I could get him pulled off the case for the simple fact that he was my lawyer for 3 years. There's issues there. He never done anything with my case. I mean, there's a lot of things I could do to get him pulled off the case. But like I told Dad, I didn't want to piss anybody off until we figure out exactly what it is that he's doing. I mean, because I could go to the courts above him and ask that he be removed as a DA and have it moved to a different jurisdiction or to a different district. Because this is in the 10th district.
I know you knew that. Still. It shouldn't be like
It shouldn't have to do that. I mean, I shouldn't have to do that. I shouldn't have to come out. He should do what is right by the law of what he's supposed to be doing.
Exactly. But you get my point what I'm saying though. That's how I'm thinking right now. He's messing with Karen Bledsoe too. He's messing with her right now. Screwing her. And I know she's gonna lie whatever she
I was
does.
just wondering if I had anything on him, if I could prove it. I know what I mean, because like I said, ours was in 2012, so it's been 5 years ago. I mean, if you have a picture, send me a picture and I'll send it to him on his phone on Tuesday when he goes to work. I'm not going to do it on the weekend because he's probably at home with his wife. And tell him, look, I paid for this. Somebody sent this to me and said that if something don't get done soon, they're going to tell everybody about this.
And you know I know a lot of people in this town. People tell me all kinds of stuff. And people come in.
And I mean, I don't care to tell. If I send it to him from my phone, then he'll know. I don't want you to send it because I don't want him to know where I got it from.
Yeah.
But I don't care to. I mean, I know. And that's what I told Debbie and Tracy. I can tell Rob and Mom that, you know, worst comes to worst. I mean, I don't care. It's not. It's the point that, you know, Steve Crump is up there acting all high and mighty like he's done everything. He's not done everything.
Acting screwing everybody's old ladies and really not doing what he's doing. I know exactly what he's doing. That DA's office here has been corrupt ever since we was coming up through it. You know what I'm talking about? Been corrupt.
watch, you know, so I'm just sitting, I've just not done anything. Because I don't know what to do.
See, I'm glad now that you come out now, that I know now that y'all, you know, y'all messing around and stuff. I'm glad I know that now. Or we come out later on down the road and stuff didn't.
But I didn't, I mean,
And I would be tore up something, you know what I'm talking about?
oh yeah, I mean, Daddy, Tracy know, and Mom and Rob know.
Yeah.
Like I told them, if I ever come out with it, I mean, I don't know if they would do something to them or
Yeah.
something, but I mean, I wouldn't.
I don't care what they try to do to me. But I was telling them, bring it on. I go to Chattanooga, so my boys up here with you, we'll bring it on.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't want them
Yeah.
to torture or make them
Okay.
like hell or anything,
Yeah,
but
okay.
like I told him, I'm gonna do what I have to do, because he's not gonna do that. I mean, he fucked me in my court case for 3 years. I would have already had child support done.
Hey, tell me this thing. When you was doing this court case with him, was he screwing you the whole time? Or you wasn't doing that?
No, just happened one time, and then I was kind of like stuck, because if I left, you know, and if I decided I was going to not have him as a lawyer, I was afraid that, you know, and then he got elected DA, and then, you know, here I am. I mean, he even represented Marshall in Marshall's case. But then when he was fixing to get elected, and I said, you know, I don't have everything settled with mine. He said, I want you to follow along. And I told him that I had talked to a couple, and he said, I said, Elizabeth Adams, he said, yes, that's good, because she's out of town. So see, my mother's from out of town. She don't know anybody out there. She's new, she's younger, and so she's like from Roe County, and she don't really associate, she does, but she don't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so maybe that's why he was so apt for me to use her and gave me the money right then to go get her, so that way I would use somebody out.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be in his house, so you didn't have to worry about you busting him out and stuff. You think that's what it was?
Probably. But like I said, he drove it out for 3 fucking years and didn't do shit.
Yeah. But I just don't want this stuff like this coming between my brother, you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I know.
I want him to wait to rest in peace, man.
But he's gonna get her shit regardless.
Man, it's crazy.
That's why the day that she wouldn't let us go in there and see him at the funeral home, I called Steve Crump and I told him, I said, this is such bullshit. And I said, if it wasn't for him to be my brother, I said, I would go out there, and I said, I promise you, I said, nobody would be resting on him.
Oh, this is bad.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But I mean, I agree. And like I said, I'm ready to use it if I have to. I'm not.
Yeah.
Like Dad said, don't do anything until we figure out exactly what he's up to.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what he has.
See that when I got the pictures yesterday. When I got them yesterday, you know where it was at? It's in my mailbox. When I got them. Nobody will come to my place to do nothing, bring me nothing. It's in my mailbox in an envelope. It's the envelope. There was no like a stamp on it or nothing. Just laid in my box at my house down the road, and there got it yesterday. I seen that. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack when I seen that. I couldn't believe it. And then I started thinking. I said, man, you know.
So does it actually show sexual activity or just us together?
It's going in somewhere together.
We're walking in a building somewhere together?
No, going in a place where y'all had sex at.
Like a hotel or something?
No, it was a house. It was a house.
I've never been to a house with him.
It was a house. This was a house. Like, I guess it's a hotel or a house like a garage or something like that. It was something like that, I guess. I don't know. It's 2 pictures, and you're playing this back. You're better on picture than he is. I promise you.
I wonder if he was walking in my work door or something, because I don't have...
This was y'all together. I mean, was it even in a house, wasn't it?
No, we were in Knoxville.
Oh.
See, because I made sure I was not around here.
Yeah, no. Guarantee you it looked like a house to me.
It looked like a house. This was a hotel.
Okay.
And I had my own room.
Yeah.
Because I went shopping and stuff. Like I said, this was before I got married or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it was up there, like off West Hills. Is that where the mall is?
Yeah.
Where Cheesecake Factory and stuff is. It was out off that exit. That's where it was at. But now he come into my work all the time and got massages.
she was doing it too.
You know, Jeff Brewer said that he had friends tell him that they had saw her going into the DA's office
Yeah,
two or three times.
Probably so. But what it was, like I told you, I thought she's messing with him, and Dana's messing with him now too. And Dana's trying to get this conviction by messing with him. You know, just don't go within my mind, you know. Like you're messing with him too, and she's messing with him on Mandy's side, and you're messing with him on her side. You know what I'm talking about?
See, I wouldn't do that, because I've not hardly talked to him. I won't even do a massage. He's asked me to do a massage. I won't do a massage on him or anything until after this is all over with. Nothing. Nothing. Because I don't want them to, if he gets convicted, I don't want them to pull out and say, oh, well, it's a mistrial because he shouldn't have been doing it anyway because they used to do massages on him. Because that's a conflict of interest too. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, I don't know, and that's why I told Daddy, I said, you know, we can have a conflict of interest regardless of how it goes. I can have it moved down to the, even Jimmy Loman, if he found out that he was my client, and my client for years, and you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, how could that not have some kind of effect on us? So I'm just worried about that too. Not that, I mean, I'm leaving the sex part out, but I'm just talking about the other stuff. I mean, just him being my lawyer and being a client of mine.
Yeah.
That's why Beverly Johnson, when she gave me that check and stuff, nobody knows that she comes to see me. Nobody knows who she is or anything like that, because she's not real prominent. She don't, you know, walk and act all out and stuff like that. She don't do all that.
Yeah.
But no, this is 2012, believe me. Ain't nothing happening. I slice his throat. Now, Karen Bledsoe, like I said, that's what Jeff Brewer called me, told me that one day.
Yeah, can I tell you that she's sleeping with him?
But then he was with her 2 weeks later in Gatlinburg.
Jeff don't care about that. He don't care, of course. He don't care about that. He don't care. As long as he gets whatever he wants, you know, he don't care about that. But that's what they said. Karen Bledsoe's done it with him. So that tells me a lot right there. Because what he's prolonging is just Karen putting that little whisper in his ear, you know?
But there, I mean, but I really feel that there's no way that he would not go forward with it because he knows me well enough that.
That you're going to tell on him.
Oh, yeah. And he knows I will. But like I told him, I said, you don't fuck me in a court case. It wasn't him that got me what I needed.
Yeah.
It was my new lawyer.
Yeah.
So they couldn't say anything that he did, so, you know, that I was fucking him because that's how my trial got, you know.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Adams was in court with me all day that day, not him. Yeah, because I mean, like I said, I went to that and all that. I didn't know what to do.
So, that's when we get it figured
That's why I would never meet Steve Crow by myself. I made Dad go with me.
Yeah, because he.
I don't want him to ever say that I did anything or I used anything or I tried to set him up. I don't want to put that in there.
Yeah. Because of the case.
Right. I don't ever want to, you know, because Dad wanted to go and talk to him about all that, and then he didn't realize y'all were going up there in the Yukon because see, I had already had a meeting set with him at 3:30. And so, anyway, when I talked to Daddy, and I was like, well, I'm going on up there at like 3:45, so that way, you know, and so he took us all back there, but I wouldn't go, and I even had my son with me. Because I'm not going anywhere by myself and being put in a room with him so he can say I did anything or tried anything. That's just like when I had to go talk to him about Marshall, because of what Marshall did. I took my friend Marshall with me, and she literally turned her recording on her phone and stuck it in her purse and left it in there a while. Because she was like, "You want me to step out?" He said, "Yes, please."
So he wanted to talk some dirty shit to you. Is that what he done?
What he did was tell me that he could go 2 ways. He could either go this way and prosecute Marshall and have him fired from his job, or he could go this way that could talk to his boss and stuff. And he said, but he didn't want, you know, somebody else to hear that he would go 2 ways and he wouldn't, you know.
Yeah, he wanted something dirty, some dirty shit.
He just didn't want me to say, oh, well, you know, she should have done this with him, or he should have done that with him, or something.
Yeah. I got you on that.
So I made, like I said, I made him go with me, or I made her go with me. She drove over here, and she drove with me over there, because I wouldn't go by myself.
You like like that, they got you in a room, you try to have, make you have sex with you or something?
Probably, I don't know, I mean, probably, but I just don't,
I mean, you think you would though? Is it that kind of pervert?
it's just awful. I mean, he tries to put his hand on you like that, you know,
Yeah.
he just.
You see how you react to it, and then maybe if you react to it, he's gonna try something.
Yeah, it's really awkward, like, and that's why he stuck his out right there, I'll walk right behind that, and then there you go,
Yeah.
I stay right behind that.
But he's a weirdo like that. Alright, that's all I wanna know for sure, man, cause man, that blew my mind. It's something about that blew my mind.
Well, you had that, like I said, I told him, and like I told him, I wouldn't use it until,
So you told Steve Crump, you bust him out to his face? What did he say then when you told him when you told
I
him
said,
that?
man, I would never use any of my personal life when it comes to my work.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, I'm just making sure that's clear. I said, because I will not hesitate. Hello? Hi.
You never did get with that dial off my stuff I asked you about on Rubbermaid.
Chip, no, I didn't. I'll write it all down. I forgot all about it.
My main thing, I need one of them big storage things out in Loesch so I can put food in because Mama gets in here, she just wastes my food, she throws it away and shit.
She's laughing at you.
She opens the bag of chips and go get another bag of chips and open them and just wastes a lot of food. You know the big cabinets that they got?
Yeah.
That is the main thing I need.
You sent it to my email, didn't you?
I don't know if I did or not. I thought I texted to you. Or maybe I did send your email. I don't remember. So, I'll just have to look back on the thing and send it to you. Where are you at?
At the house, sitting in the car with Poop, listening to him. He was telling me that somebody had sent him pictures of Karen Bledsoe and Crump, and then me and Crump. Yeah, I had the Rubbermaid stuff on my phone.
Somebody sent you pictures of what now? You and Crump?
Yeah, walking into my office, like, just that we were, like, together or something. Not sexual or anything like that, but just a picture of us walking in a building together. And then they have pictures of Karen Bledsoe and Crump together.
Well, I'll be back.
What did he say? I don't know what he was saying.
Well, that's about all I know, really. She does all I got. That's all it works.
Anyway, I don't know.
I'm just glad I know it now instead of finding out about it later. You know what I mean? That pissed me off so bad if I found out about it later. I'm glad you're honest with me and tell me. You know,
I mean, I don't have anything to
I know,
hide, though.
I know.
That's the thing. I don't have anything to hide from anybody or anything.
I'm just glad I found out now. You know what I'm talking about? I didn't want to find out later. Something happened, something didn't happen, and then boom, there we go. I want to find out. I'm glad I know now. I'm glad I know.
But yeah, I can assure you that it was 2012. Mine was 5 years ago. And I promise you, I'm not afraid to use it.
And you told him that in the last 6 months as the trial's been going on. What did he say when you told him that? What? I mean, you have to say what?
I told him that when I was working at the Demon Girl, because I was sitting there, I was stuck this up one day, and I can't remember. But he was like, let me call you. Because I was texting him something.
Yeah.
He called me and I said, I'm just going to let you know. I don't care if you go all out. I don't care if you look like an idiot. I'm not going to have this go the wrong way just because you don't want to do something because you're fucking Karen Bledsoe.
Exactly.
He said, I am not. And I said, well, I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just laying it all out
Yeah.
here and telling you exactly what it is that I think
Yeah.
is going on. And I said,
Yeah.
I just don't want to have any.
And half the people in Cleveland think this is what's going on. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I got you. I got you.
But, I mean, that was just the whole,
Yeah. That's all. That's all I need to know. I just wanna make sure, you know, crazy. I just don't want nobody trying to, you know, mess with his case. I just don't want to
like I
make
said, even if I mean, it would do more damage
I know,
than it would anything.
I understand on your part of it.
Right.
I'm talking about Karen Bledsoe too. Is she doing it, what?
Well, it's just like, cause she took Jeff Brewer,
About 100%, I know she's doing it. I know she's
Jeff
doing it.
Brewer said, he made the comment that, he said, what was it he said? He said, she said that she's gonna get probation.
Said Nanny's gonna get probation, that's it.
I said, how would you get probation for murder?
Yeah,
How?
yeah, well,
I don't get that.
she'll get probation. No, it can't work like that.
So,
So Brewer told you that?
that's what Brewer was telling me that day.
Yeah, she's gonna get probation.
Cause you know Casey Stubbs.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, he's a client of mine.
Yeah.
He came in and I gave him, so he was getting ready to leave, he said, you need to call Jeff Brewer. And I was like, what do you mean I need to call Jeff Brewer? I was like, I don't talk to Jeff Brewer like that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I've never, you know,
Yeah.
he was friends with Tudor, but I just don't, and I said, yeah, I lasered his head for Karen years ago,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I was like, I just don't know him like that to just pick up the phone and call him.
Yeah.
He's like, you know, he's like, he'll be expecting the phone call.
Yeah.
Okay, so I called him and he said, oh, that was, I sent that picture to Karina. And I said, shit. My ADHD, he said. Anyway, like I told him, I said, you know, I can't call him and just be, and he was like, just call him. So I called him and he was like, yeah, he's like, you wanna know what I heard? I heard that he, you know, somebody told me that he was going in, that she had went into the DA's office 3 times in 1 week,
Mm-hmm.
that somebody had saw her,
Yeah.
and that they had called him and told him that she went in his office over there where we went,
Mhm.
3 times in 1 week, and that he was screwing her, and that he made the comment to her, he was like, oh, you're fucking front, and she's kind of, oh, Jeff, and she said, but he goes, but she never did deny it.
Yeah.
And then he's with her 2 weeks
Yeah.
later, and I'm like, what, and I
That's
don't,
okay. That's okay.
Jeff Brewer gets on her nerves.
Alright, well, I'm gonna get me something to go home. Just stay on, let down low.
Did you ever find out if you could get any carpet?
I can probably get some, yeah. I can probably get some.
Mom's room that I'm doing right here,
Yeah.
so she'll have carpet. It's not, I mean, it's a 12.5 by 13 and a half.
I'll check on some for you. I'll check on some for you, Keith.
I'm gonna put a window in, so we're just gonna box it in and put a window in.
I'll check on some for you, Keith. Whatever you do, I'll write you later, son.
Alright,
Bye.
well, don't forget anything.
All right.
Sure. Ms. Pritchard, after hearing that recording, that is your voice on it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. And that's John Loesch's voice?
Yes.
You didn't know you were being recorded?
No, sir.
Okay. Beverly Johnson, do you know who she is?
Yes, sir.
Was she the grand jury, involved in the grand jury and the indictment for James Cheatham?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned in there that she comes to see you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you guys ever talk about the case?
No, sir.
Did you ever talk about your relationship with Tudor?
No, sir.
But nobody knew she was seeing you?
No, sir.
Prior to the trial, nobody from the police department interviewed you regarding this recording?
No, sir.
Nobody from the district attorney's office interviewed you regarding this recording?
Prior to the trial?
Prior to the trial.
No, sir.
In fact, nobody from the district attorney's office called you to even discuss the recording, correct?
Correct.
Nobody from the police department called you to ask you questions about this recording, did they, prior to the trial?
No, sir.
One second, Judge.
Sure.
Beverly Johnson, you mentioned, brought you a check. What check was that? What was it for?
It was for a fundraiser that John Loesch was doing for a, some kind of fundraiser for a motorcycle run thing.
Okay. And in fact, you did have a sexual encounter with Stephen Crum. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Judge.
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Pritchard, you got the transcript there before you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to ask you a few questions about statements on the transcript, okay?
Okay.
First of all, when this meeting was had, this conversation that you had with Mr. Loesch, did you know he was coming to see you?
No, sir.
Where were you when this happened?
At my house.
And what was going on? What was going on with you that day?
I was at my house doing some work on my mom's room. I was making a room for her.
Okay.
I had been drinking some
Drinking alcoholic beverages?
alcohol.
Okay. Anything else?
It had mixed with my medications that I was on at the time.
And what were those medications?
Prozac, Xanax. I think that's
Okay.
Adderall.
And Adderall? Okay. And what effect do those prescribed drugs have when you mix them with alcohol on you? How do they affect you?
Mixing them all together with alcohol, not a good, probably not a really good. Agitated.
Okay. Other than making you agitated, what other effect do they have on you? Or do they have any other effect on you?
Dizzy, groggy. Several,
Okay.
I mean,
You've heard your voice on this recording. Do you feel like you were experiencing any of those symptoms as you were hearing your voice?
yes, sir.
When Mr. Loesch came to see you, would you describe for the judge what kind of contact you've had before him? We heard you testify that you were kind of a conduit for collective motorcycle run. Were the two of you close in your relationship or not, or what? Can you describe it for Judge?
No, sir,
Judge Ash?
we did not have a close relationship. We were not very close at all. He had came to me and just asked for some help with a fundraiser to try to save the gym that he had. And I had just asked a couple of my clients that I had.
Okay. Since this recording, have you two maintained a relationship, or are you close or distant or not?
No, sir, after that day that he came to my house, because the conversation that I had with him that day, I was very not with it that day. He had a gun in the car that day. There was several different things that he scared me off and on that day. The way he was tapping his hands, and he was really, really scary. The way he was talking to me that day. I blocked him from all social media, and I blocked him from everything. And I went to my dad and my stepmom and told them that day, and I've never talked to him since.
Okay. The recording that was played for you today in the courtroom, was that a true and complete copy of the conversation, recording of the conversation you had with Mr. Loesch that day?
I feel like there are some things missing. I'm not really for sure exactly everything, but I feel like there are some things missing.
What in your mind is missing?
I'm not objecting. She's speculating as to things being missing.
Overruled. Go ahead.
I feel like there's some things missing that we had talked about further with the whole conversation of when we were discussing the murder, the whole talk about there was more stuff about Mandy that we talked about.
Like what?
The trial part about Steve Crump, about telling him, because I had talked in there about I never would meet him by myself, because even in part of there, it got me saying that I never would meet him alone, because anytime that we had a meeting, I would take my dad, and the only reason I would go to see Steve Crump was because my dad wanted to go. That was the only reason that we even had meetings, is because of my father.
Okay.
And my father had cancer, and that was why I was on the Xanax to begin with, is because he wanted to go and see him, and I had to drive him there.
Did you make any accusations to Mr. Loesch about his conduct that is not on the tape?
No, because he had a gun in the car.
Okay. Now, before coming here today, did you speak with the defense counsel in this case, the lawyers for the Ms. Cheatham?
No, sir.
They've never contacted you?
No, sir.
This is the first time you've ever spoken to Mr. Speak or
Yes,
anybody?
sir.
Okay, let's look at page 5 on the transcript. Okay, on line 17 of the transcript, you see that? It says, quote, "and I threatened him. I threatened him." You see that?
Yes, sir.
Is that true or false?
That's false.
Did you ever threaten him?
No, sir. I lied.
Anytime you ever met or spoke to Mr. Crump after the murder of your brother, did you ever meet with him alone?
No, sir.
Who was present?
Either my father or my son Hunter and my stepmom Tracy Cheatham or my friend Marcia Mantooth.
Okay, and that would have just been discussing about the case?
Yes.
On page 6, top of page 6. It's a transcript says, "I said, comma, I don't want to, dash, you know, I'm not trying to threaten you. I said, comma, but I will tell you." Is that true? Did you make those statements to Mr. Crump?
No, sir.
So that would be true or false, what you told Mr. Loesch? Is it true that you told Crump that, or is it false that you told Mr. Crump that?
I did not tell Mr. Crump that. There's a lot of false statements in here.
Okay. Toward the middle of the page, where it picks up in line 11, "and like I told him, I will do at all costs." You see that?
Yes, sir.
Did you say that to him?
No, sir. That's false.
All right. Page 8 of the transcript. Line 17. Ms. Hicks, and I told Steve Crump, and he knows me well enough. Is that true or false?
False.
On page 9, beginning at line 14. Ms. Hicks, because I told him, speaking of Mr. Crump, like I told him, you know me well enough that Mr. Loesch says you're going to bust him out on the fair if, and you say, uh-huh. Is that true or false?
False.
You never said that to him?
No, sir.
Let's go to page 26. When we get to this portion of the transcript, Mr. Loesch has repeated that he has pictures. But did he ever show you any pictures?
No, sir.
Did he ever promise to send you the pictures?
No, sir, I don't think so.
So he's saying at the bottom of page 25 to the top of page 26 that he has pictures at a place where y'all had sex at. And you said like a hotel or something? You see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you have sex at a hotel?
No, sir.
Why did you suggest that to him? Why did you come up with a hotel? What were you?
I was just throwing out something to him. I'm not really for sure because it was a lie.
Ms. Hicks, I've never been to a house with him after he says he had pictures he thought of a house. You ever been to a house with Mr. Crump?
No, sir.
At the line 20 and 21, page 26, you said, no, we were in Knoxville. Speaking of where you and Mr. Crump supposedly had this sexual encounter. Is that true?
No, sir.
You ever been to Knoxville with Mr. Crump?
No, sir.
You ever meet Mr. Crump in Knoxville?
No, sir.
You ever been to a hotel with him, Mr. Crump, in Knoxville?
No, sir.
You ever been to Knoxville and stayed in a hotel?
By myself?
Okay. Was Mr. Crump to join you or there?
No, sir.
Page 27, lines 3 and 4. After Mr. Loesch says the pictures appeared to look like a house where you and Mr. Crump were photographed, you say, but it wasn't a house, this was in a hotel. Is that true or false?
False.
At one time, did you perform massages on Mr. Crump and his family members?
Yes.
After your brother was murdered, did you perform any massages on him?
No, sir.
Or any members of his family?
No, sir.
On page 32, beginning at line 11, where he says, but like I told him, you, and I won't use the word you used, but you messed over me on my court case. Did you say that to him?
No, sir, that's false.
on page 37. Beginning at line 5, Mr. Loesch said, so you told Steve Crump you'd bust him out to his face. Ms. Hicks, yeah. Is that true or false?
False.
On page 41, Ms. Pritchard. Beginning at line 3, Mr. Loesch, and you told him that within the last 6 months of the trial's been going on, and it's attributed, Is that
False.
true or false?
False.
False. And on page, say 41, beginning at line 16, you're quoting as part of a telephone conversation. I don't care to go all out. I don't care to look like an idiot. I'm not gonna have this go the wrong way just because you don't want to do something because you're messing with Karen Bledsoe. Did you say that to him?
No, sir.
Is that false?
False.
Can you explain to the judge why, under oath now, you would say these are false when it appeared you were trying to convince Mr. Loesch that these things were true?
Because John Loesch was really angry and really furious about Steve Crump for some reason when he was at my house and I was on medications. And obviously, I guess I was saying whatever he wanted to hear, but then I was trying to put my words in at the same time, and every time I would say something that I wanted to say that was the truth, he would still come across and say something like I would try to tell him the truth. Like I said, I didn't want to meet him by myself, but then he would still jump in there and put his words in there and tell me, oh, so you did say that, you would say that. And I would have to still come up and say something like, oh yeah, why I said that. Because if you see, I jump back and forth across with the words because he obviously wanted me to be so demeaning towards or about Steve Crump that, and he had the gun in his car. So I don't know if he really wanted to get Steve Crump. He always talked about how much he hated Steve Crump. So I think he really had it out for Steve Crump for some reason.
Redirect. All right, Dana, you did have sex with Mr. Crump.
Yes, sir.
And he was married at the time.
I'm really not sure what this has to do with.
I'm going into.
I think what you told me is on Rule 16, you're saying that you should turn the tape over to you.
You're right.
And so that becomes the issue. So the underlying truth or falsity of these statements, I don't really understand why that comes into play.
And Your Honor, I agree. The truth or falsity doesn't come into play except for the extent that Stephen Crump has knowledge of what she is saying and her exposing him. And that's the only thing I was going to touch on redirect.
Okay, well, let's touch on that and not get into the.
Okay. And I apologize, Judge. You're good. Go ahead. You are on the tape repeatedly threatening to out him, right?
Yes, sir.
With the affair you had.
Yes, sir.
Do you know whether that was communicated to Mr. Crump or not?
Whether what was communicated?
What you were saying on the tape was communicated to Mr. Crump. that you would out him. Do you know whether that was communicated to him or not?
I didn't know if it was recorded, if the recording went to Mr. Crump or not.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you wouldn't be in the same room as him, alone, correct?
Correct, because I didn't want no one to be able to use that in court, stating that they would say anything about me and him because he was my lawyer before or anything like that.
So you wanted to make sure that there was a clear separation between you and him so it couldn't be used against
Anything.
trying to overturn a conviction?
Correct.
Okay. Now, do you recall Mr. Crump or his agency, Crump and Richardson, doing work for you?
Yes.
In fact, he did work for you for you or to your benefit. Your Honor, may I approach and have these marked as exhibits?
I'm not sure what this has to do with anything.
Your Honor, she was saying that she wouldn't.
Just step back.
I'm sorry. She was saying that she didn't want anything to come in the way. Well, Your Honor, I think this would be more appropriate to do with the witness not on the stand.
Well, I mean.
These are quitclaim deeds prepared by Mr. Crump.
Okay, let's say they're exactly what you say they are.
Yeah.
What does it have to do with the tape?
It has to do with the fact that he was performing legal work for her. And
Did he perform legal work for you? Did he ever?
He did, but I went through his.
Okay, we're good. I just don't understand the necessity of going through what he did for her. If you'll tell me why, I'll be more happy to consider it.
Yeah, Your Honor, this wasn't previous work. This was during the investigation and before trial. This was after the revelation of the tape, after the tape was turned over to the district attorney's office.
So this is after the murder took
This is
place.
after the murder. This
Okay.
is after the tape was provided to Mr. Crump's office.
Okay.
And now he's doing legal work for her. And I want to go into.
Okay, so that's got nothing to do with the tape, right? Because it was done after the tape.
Well, Your Honor, I think I'm entitled
I'm
to.
just asking. Was it done after the tape?
It would have something to do with the tape if Mr. Crump did it as a result of the tape.
But you wouldn't know that.
Well, Your Honor, he's acting as her attorney on this after
I'm
he's
not
been made
disagreeing with
aware
that.
of her allegations.
But we don't have any proof that he was doing this because of the tape, right? That's what you're saying.
May I ask her questions about how she paid for it?
Well, what I'll do is, and General, I don't know if you have an opinion about this one way or the other. I think what he wants to ask is that, did he do, a limited question, did he do legal work for you after the murder? I think that's what he wants to ask. So do you have an objection to that question?
No, it was a title company, Judge.
Okay, so I'll let you ask the limited question, what you told me. I'll let you ask the limited question. What you just told me was, did he do, and you can show her that work after the murder.
May I mark it for purposes of identification only?
To see if she can identify?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do that.
We mark these the next two, please. I have a certified copy instead. May I remark
Sure,
this?
absolutely.
We change 5, this one to the certified copy. Do the same one. I'd rather you do it before I'm done. May I approach the witness?
Absolutely.
Ms. Cheatham Pritchard, do you recognize this document? And this document will be 5-1D.
Yes.
What is that document in relation to you?
My quitclaim deed.
If you'll speak up a little bit, that'll help me hear you.
My quitclaim deed on my house.
Does it identify who was the attorney that did the work for you on this? I can assist you at pointing out where the attorney self-identifies himself on the document.
Just ask her if she's got a
Well,
I can ask the
we'll let you
questions.
bring that up on recross if you'd like, but does it show on there who prepared the deed?
I can assist you in
Is
showing.
it Crump?
I'm not,
I always talk to Melissa Blackburn.
does it identify what attorney prepared the document? And I can assist you in showing you where it
Sure,
identifies.
assist me, please.
Okay, if you. Who prepared this document?
Stephen Crump.
What date was the document prepared?
3/24/21.
So
You say 3/24/21?
yes, recently.
So this is after the trial?
It was after the trial.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, that's her commission, sorry.
I think it's when the notice expired.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let me show you another document as well. This is 4-1D. Can you identify who prepared the document?
Who prepared the document?
It'll be at the very top right here.
The same person, Stephen Crump? Is that what you're trying to?
I'm not trying to say anything. I'm asking who.
Melissa Blackburn?
Okay, did Melissa prepare it, or does it say on the document prepared by Stephen D. Crump?
Stephen D. Crump?
Okay? Do you know when that document was prepared? You'll turn to the back, there'll be a signature page.
November the 26th, 2018?
Would that have been right before the trial? To the best of your recollection?
We will
Yes.
agree it did.
I didn't hear you.
We will agree that it was before
Okay.
the trial.
Yes.
Okay, may I have those two documents?
I'll take it. Thanks, sir.
Ms. Cheatham, Pritchard, have you given a statement to the district attorney or his investigator on this case leading up to this hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if it was a recorded statement?
I don't think it was recorded.
Okay. Your Honor, that'll be the only questions I have for her. We'll ask if there is a recorded statement to be provided at this time.
There's not one.
Okay. Do you have any recalls?
Please, Judge. Ms. Pritchard, the recording that was played before the court and the transcript that you read, when did you first learn of that? When did you first learn that Mr. Loesch had secretly recorded the conversation you had with him in his car?
When it was posted in the newspaper.
In the newspaper?
I'm not really for sure when that was.
Okay.
It was
That's the first you learned about it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, these two deeds that were just introduced, can
Yes,
you
sir.
tell me what they were all about? What was going on?
My ex-husband and I got a divorce
When was that?
in 2000. We got divorced in 2015, and he had moved out finally in 2018, and he worked for the county sheriff's department, and he had went to Mr. Crump and got him to do the quitclaim deed, and he went into his office to sign the quitclaim deed.
Okay. And when you mentioned a female, Melissa Blackman?
She works in the title office,
The title company?
title company.
Okay. Did you go to the DA's office to get the deed, or did you go to the title
I
company?
went to the title company,
Okay. And who did you meet with there?
Melissa.
Okay. And did you sit down and meet with Mr. Crump about that deed?
No, sir.
Did you have any conversation with him about that deed?
No, sir.
Did he have any conversations or try to call you about the deed?
No,
or anything?
sir.
And so you went to see the lady at the title company and told her what you wanted?
I emailed her. and
Emailed
She
her.
called me.
Okay. Do you have any contact with Mr. Crump at all about this deed?
No, sir.
I know the form says it was prepared with Mr. Crump, but did you ever provide any information, emails or anything to Mr. Crump for the purpose of the deed?
No, sir.
No further questions.
All right, any redirect?
One second, Judge.
Sure.
No further questions, Judge.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Free to stay in court, we're free to go, but I need to make sure you don't discuss your testimony with anybody. Can you do that for me? Okay, thank you, have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
So let's take a 15-minute break. Start back in 15 minutes.
All rise. Court will return in 15 minutes.
That's no excuse. All the medication I have to take, we take that side of excuse. You look so good. You look healthy, Mom. You feel good. Hey, we'll pray. You're doing good. You're good. Okay.
Ms. Townsend.
Did you pump that? Yes.
Oh, I don't wanna go if it's not there.
Let's see. I can take it back to the clerk.
Is there a man?
All rise. Court's now back in session. You may be seated. Come to order.
Thank you. Who's going to be our next witness?
May we approach on an issue that just came up?
Sure. I guess Matt Corporal, you can
Hang on just a second.
Oh,
No, it just come to our attention that they're live streaming this case, the local channels, Channel 9. So
they had tough. I got all these meeting requests, and they had told me that. I told them I cared that they had pulled through this dateline people. That was it.
So just so the court's aware, this is broadcasting on live TV throughout the area.
We're more concerned about the witnesses that aren't incorporated anymore.
Well, so do you think I should? So, but now we've got our witnesses here. We don't have any witnesses that could be out watching TV.
I didn't see any of them out there.
They could be streaming on their phone, Judge. Miss General Abbott got hers on her phone. I just pulled it up on the computer, the laptop.
Well, Judge, I think clearly we'll need to ask them questions about it, and maybe the court would admonish them even when they get off the stand not to watch.
I know that just having a hall coming in and admonishing all what he wants.
Bring them
And
all.
then the court officers out there are aware.
We do that now. Just
They're not supposed to have phones with them anyway.
I don't know. So these people back here have their phones.
yeah, that's how
So
we found
can we
out.
get? So can we see if we can get all the witnesses in here?
Before we call our next witness, we'll handle this business.
Yeah, that's okay. It's a good idea. Say what?
That's when you have to repeat yourself.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, counsel, I don't think there's any witnesses that are not present, that are out, that y'all anticipated the call?
Judge, there's one witness we have under subpoena that we have not seen yet today.
Okay.
That possibly.
We'll
could
cross
be.
that bridge when we get there.
Check.
On that recording over anything, if you want to tell me when you want to start and when you want to stop it. Okay. Okay. Whatever you want to do. Just charge.
No, I think there's a witness missing.
My witnesses could step up here to the podium, please. You're good, right? Y'all are good right there. Talking about potential witnesses, it's my understanding that they're live streaming this thing. I don't know which platform they're using, but that's fine because what they did was they requested this, and I told them you can do it, but you got to go you've got a pool and go through one camera. So the reason I called you in here is don't get on your telephone and watch this trial or whatever this hearing. Don't go on the phone and do that. Don't talk to anybody on the phone about what the testimony is or anything like that. Can everybody do that for me? Okay, I'll make best efforts to get y'all out of here quickly, but that's what I need you to do for me. Okay? All right, thank y'all. And which witness do we have next?
Chief Mark Gibson.
Is he here? Okay. Sir, if you'll step up here next to me, please. If you'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. If you have a seat right there.
That's pretty slick. Okay.
If you'll speak up, that'll help me hear a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And if you'll tell me your first name and last name and spell them both.
Mark Gibson, M-A-R-K-G-I-B-S-O-N.
Thank you, sir. And questions, counsel?
Yes, Chief, explain your position with the Cleveland Police Department.
I'm currently the chief of police. I'm over the Cleveland Police Department operations of the Cleveland Police Department.
Do you know Lieutenant Daniel Gibbs?
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you recall a time when Lieutenant Daniel Gibbs brought to your attention a recording between John Loesch and Dana Cheatham?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell the court what happened, how that interaction took place?
I was just contacted by him and told that he had an audio recording dropped off at the Cleveland Police Department. He explained briefly kind of what was supposed to be on the audio recording. We talked about it as far as how we needed to handle the recording, and he turned the recording over to me.
How did Lieutenant Gibbs describe what was on the recording?
He just from what I remember, just said, hey, this is a recording that's supposed to be alleged affair between Steve Crump and who I knew as Dana Cheatham at that time, and that it was brought in by John Loesch.
At the time that this was brought to you, you knew that Dana Cheatham was a family member of the deceased James Cheatham.
I did, yes.
And what did you do with the recording?
Well, I took it to Lieutenant Gibbs' office at that time and listened to the recording, listened to what the content was on it. And after that, I went to talk to a couple of members of my command staff, and we made a decision on what our next step would be.
Okay, so you actually listened to the entire recording?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember to this day what was on the recording?
It's been 4 years ago, and I only listened to it that one time, so I remember most of what's on it, but I couldn't, you know.
Is it safe to say this was a recording that was alleging to disclose private matters with the District Attorney Crump if he didn't go forward on a particular case?
What I would describe it as is a covert recording between John Loesch and Dana Cheatham, where they discussed a relationship that she had with General Crump, and that's pretty much the content of it.
And the recording's filled with her threatening to make it public, correct?
It does have a portion on there where she talks about making it public.
Okay. And after you listened to the recording yourself, first of all, are you aware of anyone else in your department that listened to the recording at that time?
To my knowledge, no one else has listened to it.
After you were made aware of that recording, did you then take that information directly to District Attorney Stephen Crump?
Yes, I called him that day, and he came to the office and met with me probably within the hour of me listening to it.
And when you discussed it with Detective or District Attorney Stephen Crump, you made the existence of the recording and its content known to him?
Yes, sir.
Did you do any investigation as to the allegations in that recording?
No, sir.
Did you make a phone call to Dana Cheatham, now Dana Cheatham Pritchard, about at all?
No, sir.
Did you try to contact John Loesch?
No, sir.
Did you instruct anyone in your department to do anything to investigate the allegations raised in that recording?
No, sir.
You communicated it with the district attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have the original copy?
I listened to the original copy, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know what happened to the original copy?
The original copy, we maintained it. We didn't put it in evidence. We maintained it with a file.
Lieutenant Gibbs previously testified he'd made a copy of this recording and gave the original to you.
Okay.
Do you recall what you did with the original? Did you provide it to Mr. Crump?
I offered it to Mr. Crump, to General Crump to listen to, and I offered to provide him a copy of it. He did not take it at that time, and I don't recall if he had anyone come back and request it or take it with him. So whether or not I had the original or not, I'm not sure. I knew I had what I thought I had was a copy of the original.
Okay. The copy you had, Do you, to this day, know where it's at?
No, sir.
Okay. Lieutenant Gibbs says he didn't get a copy, the copy he gave you back. Is that your recollection as well?
Well, if that's probably right, if he don't recall it. I don't remember giving it back to him. Don't remember what we did with the copy.
Okay.
My understanding was original, we kept the original, and, if the copy was it was picked up by someone or whatever, I don't recall that.
So the portion, the one you were given to this day, we're not, from your best recollection, you're not sure where it's at?
No, sir.
Okay. One second, Judge.
Sure.
Dana Cheatham Pritchard, is she married?
I assume she's married.
Okay. Do you know a Brian Pritchard?
I know Brian, yes, sir.
Who does he work for?
He works for me.
Okay. Do you know if he has a wife?
He's supposed to have a wife. That's supposed to be his wife, yes, sir.
Okay, so your understanding is Dana Cheatham Pritchard is Brian Pritchard's wife?
That's what I understand.
And Brian Pritchard works for the Cleveland Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. No other questions, Judge?
General, any questions?
Nothing further.
Okay, thanks for you step down. Appreciate the court, free to go. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody else.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Who's next?
Judge, we call Neha Scott.
Who?
Neha Scott.
Okay. You don't tell. Ma'am, if you'll sit up here next to me, please. You'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. If you have a seat. If you'll speak up to that microphone, please. If you'll tell me your first name and last name, and spell them both.
My name is Neha Scott. First spelled M as a Megan, E-H-Y-E. Last name is Scott, S-C-O-T-T.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions, counsel?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Scott, my name's Jonathan Turner. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Cheatham today, okay? Could you introduce yourself to the court as far as where you work?
I work for the Stephen Crum District Attorney General,
Okay, how long have you worked there?
15 years.
15 years? Okay, so you were definitely there back in 2016?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you were there in 2018?
Yes, sir.
And you're currently still employed there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's your job title at the District Attorney's Office?
I'm the administrative assistant for the DA.
Okay, what does that job title include? What type of duties do you perform?
I do all the paperwork for new hire, hiring and.
1 second. So this wasn't in your motion to qualify?
I did, but when I heard the testimony concerning about who contacted Lieutenant Gibbs to come to the grand jury, she was mentioned. I only understood it was something to do about notarizing a deed. It didn't have.
Okay, so we're withdrawing your
Yes,
motion
sir.
to quash on
With
her.
regard to her.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, Your Honor. I was just going to ignore that issue if they ignored it, obviously.
Okay.
I do all the work at the DA's office, including accepting cases and preparing for grand jury as
Okay.
well.
So you said part of your duty is preparing cases for the grand jury?
Yes.
Okay, and would be preparing the paperwork?
Yes,
You don't
helping,
partic-
helping secretaries.
You wouldn't participate in the investigation phase at all, then,
No.
would you? Okay. Did you prepare the Miranda Cheatham's case for indictment or presentment to the grand jury for indictment?
I believe so, but, yes.
Okay. Do you recall who the grand jury foreman would have been at that time?
No, I don't remember.
If I told you a name, Beverly Johnson, do you know who she is?
Yes,
Okay, who is she?
she was the foreman.
Okay. Would she have been the foreman from August of 2015 until about August of 2017?
I mean, if she's on the record, I believe so. I mean, I cannot remember their terms.
Okay. But she was the prior grand jury
Yes.
foreman that you've worked
Yes.
with here in your capacity in Mr. Crump's office?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, how do you notify a police officer about an indictment being ready to be presented to the grand jury?
I don't remember the date when the clerk's office stopped subpoenaing people, the officer for the grand jury, but I also email them and also, call them or text them, each officers, to remind them of the grand jury.
Okay. When you send these emails out, how far in advance would you typically do that?
It's different at a time. Sometimes if the case is ready, sometimes I do 2 weeks before. Sometimes I have to wait until like a week before. But I don't remember when I start emailing them.
Okay. In this case, if Detective Gibbs testifies you notified him by phone 2 days before the presentment, would you have any reason to contradict or think that's not true?
I don't remember.
Okay. But you have no independent recollection in this case?
No, sir.
Are you aware of a business known as Crump and Richardson, PLLC?
I learned that way after General Crump was elected. I cannot tell you if it was before I notarized or after.
Okay. What have you learned about that business?
It's the title company.
Okay. Who's the owner of the business?
Crump and Richardson.
Okay.
I guess.
Who is Crump specifically?
Stephen Crump, the
Your
district
boss
attorney.
at the district attorney's
Yes.
office. And who would the Richardson be?
Judge Wally Richardson, the McMinn County Sessions Court judge.
Okay, you said he's a McMinn County Sessions Court judge?
Yes.
He's currently the elected Sessions Court judge in McMinn
Yes.
County? Okay. And you believe he's a part owner of that business as well?
I mean, I just assume by name,
Okay.
but I don't know who runs it or who works in there.
Okay. Do you ever do work for that company?
No.
Have you ever done work for that company?
No.
Okay. Your Honor, may I approach for some of the exhibits that were previously declared? I believe it's just a long one, is it what I need? Okay. All right. So you don't recall ever doing any work for Crump and Richardson?
Not until I saw this exhibit.
Okay. May I approach, Your Honor?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to hand you what's already been marked as Exhibit 5. Okay.
Yes.
If you go ahead, I'll leave that there with you a minute. What does that exhibit purport to be on its face there?
It says quit claim deed.
Okay. And who does it give property to and from?
From Marshall Hicks to Dana Cheatham.
Okay, it gives property from Marshall Hicks to Dana Cheatham.
Looks like it.
Okay. Do you know who Dana Cheatham is?
Now I know.
Now you know who she is?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who Marshall Hicks is?
Yes.
Okay.
Because he's one of the detectives I worked with.
And right above there, do you see a line where you said Marshall Hicks' name? What does it say after his name? There on the front where you saw his name.
Where is it? See, I don't remember looking at the front side. Only thing I've notarized his name.
Okay, I'm just asking you what it says on the front side there. This is a document you notarized, correct?
Yes.
Well, let's get to that part. Let's get to that back part. On the back of the document, there's a notarization, correct?
Yes,
Who notarized this document?
I did.
You notarized it?
Yes.
So, are you currently a notary public for the state of Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay. At the time, your commission would have expired January 26, 2019, correct?
Yes.
But you've renewed that commission?
Yes.
Okay. Why are you a notary? What functions do you need to serve as a notary?
Because we have a lot of people come into our office, and actually I started as an assistant victim witness coordinator at the office, so I had to notarize for a lot of people for like victims compensation program. That victims come in and fill out the form, they need a notary to notarize.
Sure.
And we have other people come in and ask for notarized.
This is in the DA's office you're referring
Yes.
to? Okay. So that's part of your duties as an employee of the District Attorney General's
Yes.
office. This deed would not have been within your duties of a District Attorney General employee, would they?
I mean, like I said, Marshall Hicks is one of the detectives I still work with. And he brought the paperwork. Only thing I remember is notarizing his name. I really don't remember looking at the paper, reading the paper.
Okay. Let's look back at the front of the page. Could you tell me who prepared this document?
On the up.
It's right underneath of Miss Blackburn's notary seal on the top.
Crump and Richardson.
Okay, no, back up before that. It gives a specific name.
Stephen D. Crump, attorney.
Okay, could you read that entire line, that entire sentence in that box?
This instrument was prepared by and returned to Stephen D. Crump, attorney, Crump and Richardson, PLLC.
Okay, so it lists Stephen D. Crump as an attorney, as the person who prepared this document.
Yes.
Okay. And do you know that Stephen D. Crump to be?
And Richardson, correct?
Yeah, Richardson.
Well, Judge, no, that's the name of the office below it.
So it just says prepared by.
It says prepared by Stephen D. Crump, attorney, correct?
Yes.
And then the next line says Crump and Richardson, PLLC.
Yes. with the
Identifying the
address.
company name.
Yes.
So, this was a document prepared by your boss.
Well, does she know that?
No.
Judge, she was tasked with the duty of
Judge,
notarizing.
honestly, I
No,
didn't.
no, not really a fair question.
Okay.
You know, she doesn't know. It was
On its
prepared by
face,
the
does it say it was prepared by your boss?
Yes.
Okay. And you notarized this document
Yes.
using your notary seal that's paid for by the state of Tennessee as an
Yes.
employee of the district attorney's office. Where did you notarize it?
Where?
Where?
I believe it was at our office.
Our office being the district attorney general's office?
Yes.
Not in Crump and Richardson's office?
No.
But the district attorney's office?
Like I said, I don't remember I don't think I knew he had the title company at the time. So I only notarized detective's signature.
Well, let's talk about that. So you just said you didn't know he had the title company at the time.
Right.
All right. So you've been working at the DA's office for how long now?
15 years.
Okay. And when was Mr. Crump elected?
2014. Yes.
This document was notarized by you in November of 2018, approximately 4 years after he was elected.
Yes.
So 4 years after General Crump's elected, you're not aware that he's running a business next door, drafting deeds and other legal documents for estates
No,
and
because he doesn't talk about
mortgages.
he doesn't talk about other stuff in the office. We only talk about our work.
Now, do you keep a record of the documents you notarize?
No, sir.
You don't keep any log, a notarization
No,
log?
sir. Because we don't get paid for notarizing signature for people come in to the office.
But as you look at this document today, marked Exhibit 5, is there any doubt that that's your signature on the
No,
document?
it was me.
Any doubt that that's your notary seal?
No.
Have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
So, you've worked for General Crump since 2014.
Yes, sir.
You currently work for him.
Yes, sir.
And this is the only document that you have recollection of that you notarized on behalf of Crump and Richardson, prepared by Stephen D. Crump, attorney.
I would think so, but like I said, I don't look at paperwork that closely when I notarize
Okay.
signature for people.
And this document was purporting to give land to Dana Cheatham.
Yes.
All right, thank you for showing up today, that's all the questions I have.
Just one quick question, Your Honor. Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Did Stephen D. Crump bring you that document to sign?
No, ma'am.
So was it Detective Hicks that brought it on his
Yes,
own?
ma'am.
Nothing further.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll take that back.
Oh, this one.
Thank you, ma'am. You're free to go.
Thank you.
But please don't discuss your testimony with anybody.
No, sir.
Okay?
Thank you.
Who's next?
1 second, Judge.
Sure.
Oh, Karen Bledsoe.
Okay, get Karen Bledsoe, please.
Hey, Jeffrey, Karen Bledsoe. Karen Bledsoe.
Ma'am, if you'll step up here next to me, please. If you'll raise your right hand, please, ma'am. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. If you have a seat, please. If you'll speak up in that microphone, please.
Okay.
And if you'll tell me your first and last name and spell them both.
Okay. Karen Bledsoe, Carynbledsoe.
And this has something to do with the tape.
It does.
Okay? Questions?
Ms. Bledsoe, my name's Bill Speak. I've got just a couple questions for you. Have you ever had a sexual encounter with Stephen Crump?
Objection, Your Honor. That's, this is
You made your
Jerry
objection.
Springerish.
Also your objection. What's the basis for your objection?
It's irrelevant.
Okay, tell me why this is relevant.
Just because I believe that if the relevance of this would be his knowledge of these accusations coming to light.
His knowledge of these
If he was, the relevance is, if this affair took place and he was aware of it, his actions in handling Miranda Cheatham's case may change out of fear of the exposure of this coming forward.
But what is there in this tape that discusses her saying anything to anybody?
Then I withdraw my question, Judge.
Okay.
No further questions.
All right. Thank you, man. You can step down. You're free to go.
Thank you.
Who's next?
Hey, the other two ladies can't go out. Can't go in back there. The other two ladies that just come out of the courtroom cannot go back there, and they can't be talking to her.
One second, Judge.
Nothing but time. Take your time.
We're clear.
Judge, we call Cody Wamp.
Cody Long.
Wamp. Cody Wamp,
Okay.
Jeffrey. Cody Wamp.
You'll step up here, please. You'll raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. If you have a seat. If you'll speak up in that microphone, if you can spell your first and last name for me, please.
Yes, sir. Cody, Coty, Wamp, Wamp.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, I think it's still barely the morning, so good morning, Ms. Wamp.
Morning.
Obviously, we know each other, but if you could introduce yourself to the court and let them know where you work.
Sure. My name's Cody Wamp. I am currently General Counsel at the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. And prior to your employment with the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office, where did you work?
I worked for the 10th Judicial District Attorney's Office as an assistant district attorney.
Okay. And your duties there at the 10th Judicial District Attorney's Office included prosecution of Miranda Cheatham?
That's correct.
Okay. What was your role during that prosecution?
A few months before trial, I became lead counsel.
Okay. Well, when did you start working at the District Attorney's Office?
At the end of 2017.
Okay. This is after Ms. Cheatham had already been indicted?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you had nothing to do and would have taken no part in the grand jury procedures whatsoever, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Who was lead counsel on the case before you took over?
Drew Robinson.
Okay. Did Drew Robinson continue to assist on the case?
He did.
And he tried the case with you?
He did.
Okay. When did you go to trial in that case?
January of 2019.
Okay. Prior to trial, was it ever brought to your attention of a tape that existed that was a conversation between Dana Cheatham and John Loesch?
It was.
Okay. Who brought it to your attention?
Detective Daniel Gibbs, Lieutenant Daniel Gibbs.
Okay. How did Daniel Gibbs bring that to your attention?
We had been interviewing witnesses one day. It was, again, I was not made lead counsel until pretty close to trial. I had several months to prepare. I had been studying the case anyways because I was second chair before those last few months. But when I became lead prosecutor on the case, we really hit the ground running. I wanted to make sure I knew it forward and backward. And so we were interviewing witnesses, and one day we had gone to interview a witness, and after we came back to the office, and he mentioned that recording.
Okay. How did he mention it? How did it come up?
I'm not sure how it came up. I don't know, but he very briefly told me that a recording had been dropped off at the Cleveland Police Department before Ms. Cheatham was indicted. That was a conversation between John Loesch and Dana Cheatham that included allegations of an affair. And that's about the extent he went into because he had not listened to it either. So what he was telling me was what he had also heard. The conversation was probably 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. And what action did you take on behalf of that after that conversation? What action did you take in regards to that audio tape?
None whatsoever.
Okay. So you didn't. Who was representing Ms. Cheatham at trial?
Amy and Bill Reedy.
Okay. Did you make any effort to contact the Reedys and inform them of the tape?
I did not.
Okay. Did you make any effort to go listen to the tape yourself?
I did not.
Okay. And at this time, you're the lead prosecutor on the case?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
So who made the determination that the tape should not be handed over to the defense counsel?
I don't know. That was before I got to the office.
Okay. When you took the case over, did you not reevaluate the evidence and reevaluate the information that had been collected by the police department?
I reviewed every piece of evidence that had to do with the homicide in October of 2016.
Okay. And nothing in your review changed your mind on what should have been turned over to the defense team in that case?
No.
Okay. Did you have a conversation with anybody other than Daniel Gibbs about the recording?
Before trial?
Well, I'll ask you before trial first and then after trial next. So before trial?
Before trial, no, sir.
Okay. What about after trial?
Yes, sir.
Who did you have a conversation with?
Since trial, several people.
Okay. Did you name the people?
I originally had another conversation with Detective Gibbs about it because an attorney had called the Cleveland Police Department inquiring about it. So he brought that up to me, and then General Crump and I spoke about it briefly. And then I talked to Detective Gibbs several more times about it, talked to Attorney Speak about it multiple times. List goes on.
You yourself never handed this tape over as the district attorney handling this case, correct?
I was never in possession of the tape.
Okay. Who actually handed the tape over to defense counsel eventually?
I recommended to Attorney Speak that your firm do a public records request for the tape.
And that's how the tape was obtained, correct? Not
Yes.
through disclosure from the DA's office, but through a public information request through the Cleveland Police Department.
That is how I believe your firm obtained that disc, yes.
Okay. And now you said you were never in possession of the tape, but you have listened to the tape, correct?
After trial.
Okay. All right. So how did you listen to it? I mean, physically, how did that happen without being in possession of the recording?
So it was months and months after trial that Attorney Stephen Hatchett had asked the Cleveland Police Department about the tape or for the tape. I'm not sure. Wasn't privy to those conversations. So Detective Gibbs called me and said, hey, Stephen Hatchett's asking questions about this recording. Didn't really stand out to me for any reason. And then Attorney Speak and I, after I learned that Attorney Hatchett had asked about it, Detective Gibbs and I had a conversation about whether or not at that point we should listen to it, because we both believed that it was subject to public records request. General Crump agreed that it was subject to public records request, and so we figured if somebody's going to request it and listen to it, we need to listen to it at that point. And soon after I learned that it was being inquired of, Attorney Speak and I had a phone conversation about the recording.
Well, I don't want to cut you off here, but my question is, how did you physically listen to it?
At the Cleveland Police Department.
Okay, who played it for you?
Detective Gibbs.
Do you know, did he play it on a computer, or did you see him put a disc out? How did it actually get played?
I believe it was, I don't know, I believe it was just on the computer when I went over there.
Okay, so you believe it was through computer speakers, on a computer, you believe?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you brought up the Stephen Hatchett. Just to be clear with the court here, is he associated with the defense team in any way, to your knowledge?
No, he's not.
Okay, he hasn't ever represented Ms. Cheatham?
No, he's not.
Okay. Who is he?
He's a defense attorney in town that previously was the opponent of our elected district attorney, General Crump.
Okay. So it was only after he inquired about the tape that you and Detective Gibbs thought it was worth listening to? Before we
handed it over via a public records request, yes, I believed I should know what was on it.
Okay. After listening to it, did you reach out to Dana Cheatham in any way? Dana Cheatham Pritchard in any way?
No.
Did you reach out to John Loesch in any way?
No.
Okay. Did you do any independent investigation whatsoever?
No.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Now, you were the lead prosecutor in this case. And when you take on that role, you have certain duties, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would one of those duties be to divulge any information that could be material to the defense?
Yes.
Okay. This piece of information you never listened to, correct?
That's correct.
So how could you possibly make the determination that this tape was not material and needed to be handed over to the defense if you didn't listen to it? It's 34 minutes long.
Mm-hmm. That decision was made, to my knowledge, based on our conversation, Detective Gibbs and ours, that decision was made well before I got to the office and prior to this case being presented to the grand jury. I knew that the grand jury had been presented several criminal offenses as options, including, I believe, and I wasn't there, including, I believe, a self-defense argument. And so I had no reason to believe that anything that had happened thus far affected the homicide in October of 2016.
Okay, so you just testified that you believe this decision, that the content of this recording was not material, was made prior to the indictment.
Say that again.
I believe what you just testified to was that the materiality of this content of the recording was made by somebody at the district attorney's office prior to indictment.
I don't know.
I believe that's what you just said.
All I know is that when I got to the office, she had been indicted by a grand jury, and I was made lead prosecutor a few months before the case. That's all I could accurately testify to. I don't know. I was not there when those conversations occurred. I still don't know what the conversations would have been.
Okay. But you never took the 34 minutes to listen to the tape prior to trial?
No.
So you were therefore never able to make a determination of the materiality of the tape, were you?
Retrospectively, I can.
What about before trial, prior to trial?
from the 2 or 3 minute conversation from Detective Gibbs, I had no reason to believe that it had anything to do with a homicide in October 2016.
And your testimony prior was that Detective Gibbs had also not listened to it at that point?
That's correct.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Ms. Wamp.
All right, cross-examination. Okay, thank you, ma'am. You can step down. Free statement, corporal free to go. Please don't discuss your testimony with anybody.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, who's next?
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Call John Loesch.
What you call Mr. Loesch? Sir, if you'll step up here next to me, please. Raise your right hand. Swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Sure do.
Thank you. You have a seat.
All right.
If you'll speak up to that microphone, if you'll tell me both your first name and last name and spell them both.
John Loesch, John-Loach.
All right. Just a little louder if you don't mind.
All right.
Oh, I'm good right now. Go ahead, question.
Thank you. Mr. Loesch, I'm Bill Speak. I represent Miranda Cheatham in this matter. What is your relationship to the victim in this case?
My brother.
Is he?
Yeah, James is my brother.
Okay. And do you recall, does your brother have a half-sister as well named Dana Cheatham, now Dana Cheatham Pritchard?
Yep.
Do you recall having a conversation with her in a vehicle?
Sure do.
Did you have a gun and were you threatening her?
No. I ain't never owned a gun in my life.
Okay. Do you recall recording that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. What was the reason you were recording it?
Okay. Can you wait? It's gonna be a story.
You have a full answer.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I got a phone call that Karen Bledsoe was going around.
Judge, I'm going to object to this. Be responsive to the questions and be on point.
I-
Sounds like the witness wants to make a speech.
I'll stay. Yeah, let's not do a story.
Okay, well,
Let's
that's,
let's let this good lawyer ask you specific questions. And you give specific answers.
okay,
Okay?
all right.
All right. Specific question.
Okay. When you went over to, where was this recording taking place?
At Dana's house, I went over there in my car.
Okay, what was it, was there a reason you headed over to her house?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and let me just clarify this. I've never spoke to you before today.
No.
Okay.
No.
This is the first time you and I have ever had any
Exactly.
communication. You've had no communication with my
Exactly.
office in any way.
No.
Have you had any communication with the district attorney's office?
No, I don't know none of them.
All right. So John, what was the purpose in going over there?
To find out what was going on with my brother's case, it took them 3 years to, to indict her or whatever that was. And, I mean, he don't want me to tell the story on that, so I can't really elaborate.
I don't know what you're going to say, John.
Okay, this is what I want to say. This, Karen Bledsoe, the rumor was
Again,
one.
Judge,
I can't.
we're back to.
Judge, I believe you can
giving a
answer.
speech.
Well,
ask a question.
No, let's just,
Don't say
hey,
no.
let's
Don't
just.
say
no. Okay, okay. All right.
I mean, here, it's a good question,
Yes,
okay?
sir. Yes, sir.
And so the question is, I'm not interested about Karen Bledsoe unless he asks you about Karen Bledsoe.
Okay.
So why did you go over?
I don't.
Why did you go over to Miss Cheatham's house and record it?
Just to find out information.
And what information were you looking for?
To why that was going on, why the holdup was on the trial.
Okay, so you were interested in why it taken so long to indict?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next
All right.
question.
And you were recording this conversation because you wanted to preserve it, correct?
Yeah, I wanted to save it.
Okay, because you didn't know what was going to be said.
No, I sure didn't.
In this conversation, you found out Dana Cheatham was involved in an affair or had previously had an affair with Stephen Crump.
Yes.
And now you had that recording.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't threaten her in any way?
No.
Did she seem intoxicated, drunk, or unable to comprehend what you were asking?
When I got there, they was all out there working on her garage.
Okay.
They was all working on her garage. Her and her husband.
Did you see any beer in her hand, any alcohol?
Nothing.
What time of day was it?
It was probably 1 o'clock, maybe something like that. Maybe
1 o'clock in the afternoon?
In the afternoon, probably, yeah.
Had you had interactions with her before?
Yeah, I mean, I know Dana. I know her.
Have you ever seen Dana drunk and intoxicated?
Never in my life.
Okay. This day, she did not appear to be impaired to you?
No.
And you didn't have a gun with you?
No, sir. I promise you, I'll take a lie detector on that.
I'm not asking you to take a lie detector. I'm asking you to
Guarantee
answer truthfully and honestly the questions
That's
that you
it.
asked.
That's it.
Did you threaten her in any way?
No way.
After you had this conversation, what did you do with the recording?
I took it back to my house for a few days. Me and my wife listened to it. Couldn't believe it. Then I took it to Daniel Gibbs.
Daniel Gibbs. What was the reason you took it to Daniel Gibbs?
To find out and to let him listen to it, and that was it.
Okay. When you took it to Daniel Gibbs, you knew it would go to the district attorney eventually, right?
I didn't know. I promise you, I don't know that.
Okay.
All I did is took it to Daniel because I knew that my brother was trying to get a shaft.
What do you mean by the shaft?
I just thought he was going to get the shaft on how the thing's going. Took him 3 years to indict and all this, and there was other stuff going on too. But
Right, John, do you know when you may not know what an indictment is. You may be thinking conviction. Hold on.
Okay.
Do you know when the shooting took place, roughly?
Yes, I was
It was October 31st, 2016. 16.
Yes, sir.
Are you aware that Miranda Cheatham was charged with a crime on June 21st, 2017?
She wasn't. I don't think she was charged. See, I got a paper. She wasn't charged in 2017.
Okay.
I don't think.
Man, just for purposes.
Let's just keep on going.
It was around 18.
You want me to show them the indictment, Judge? Okay.
I understand.
All right.
I think we know when the indictment was.
Okay. Were you frustrated with the district attorney's office?
Oh, very. I was.
Felt they weren't doing their job?
Exactly.
Was this recording kind of assurance for you that they would do their job?
If I give it to Daniel Gibbs, I told him to do whatever you had to do with it. I said I don't know what else to do. I mean, I don't. I thought they was going to let her just walk away.
Okay. So you turned it over to Daniel Gibbs. Did you have any intention of making sure Stephen Crump would do his job and indict and or convict?
No way. Stephen Crump, I talked to him one time, and that was when all this happened. The first time he brought us in his office one time, I talked to Stephen Crump one time.
Okay. Were you mad at him?
Yeah, I was mad. He backed away from everything. I didn't even get to talk to him ever. He backed away from everything.
So you had a recording that talked about, and we've listened to the recording, the contents of the recording. It's a conversation you were in. You had that recording.
Yeah.
And you brought it to the Cleveland Police Department to preserve it? To
give it to Daniel, see what he could do with it. See if he thought anything was because of the way it was said and stuff. I
don't want to put words in your mouth, but we may be talking a little bit different. Did you give it to Lieutenant Gibbs because you wanted to make sure the prosecution went forward?
Yeah, I mean, this is
well, first of all,
objection.
Yeah, first of all, I sustain your lead, but I understand why you're leading. But I think the question that he's trying to ask you is what is the purpose that you gave it to the detective? What's the reason you gave it to him? What did you want out of that?
Because I thought Crump and them was trying to railroad my brother. And that's the whole bottom line.
And so what does the tape have to do with railroading your brother?
If y'all would let me tell the other part, I know.
So just tell me what the tape has to do with railroading your brother. Because I've listened to the tape, I know what it says.
Yeah, exactly.
So what did you think it was going to do to help you?
I thought Dana might know some stuff from the other girl that they've been talking, because I know they was all friends. They was all friends, and that's how I figured it out.
Okay. Next question.
Yes, Judge. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, a little easier for you to lead than me.
I guess that's right. If you want to object to my question,
I do not want to object, Judge.
Okay.
You did testify in court in this matter, didn't you?
I didn't get to go in the courtroom when the murder trial was going on.
Did you testify in sentencing?
Nothing. We had, oh yeah, kinda. No, I didn't get to testify. I got to do what you call, a talk when I get to, I didn't get to testify, but I got to talk to her.
Impact
I got that, yeah, I got an impact
So-
statement. Me and my mother sit outside the courtroom the whole time.
Your Honor, he may, and I'm just, some leeway because he may not know what an impact
Yes, sir,
statement
go
is.
ahead.
When you testified in the sentencing hearing.
No, I didn't get to testify, nothing. I had to sit outside the courtroom for 5 days. I didn't get to go in the
Okay,
courtroom.
Mr. Loesch, this is a procedural thing. During the trial in which Miranda was convicted, you did not testify. You didn't testify.
No, I didn't get to testify on nothing.
When Miranda was sentenced by the court, you did get on the stand and testify.
Not a stand, I stood right in front of the judge.
Okay, were you asked questions at all?
No.
There was not a question asked you?
No, all the thing I did is got to just do an impact statement. That's it, Your Honor. That's what I'm saying. We got it. My family got it all around crazy. You wouldn't believe it.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Do you recall telling people when you addressed the court during sentencing that if it wasn't for them two right here, there ain't no telling where this case would have went, because I got proof on stuff?
Sure did.
What proof you have? What were you referring to?
Then again, I can't. Y'all not gonna let me. You're not gonna let me tell
Judge,
you.
at this
what
point,
I'm
hold
tell
on.
you.
At this point, I'm going to ask
Go
him
ahead.
to explain it because this is.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you can
What proof are you referring to?
Okay,
You
this-
have now the floor to tell whatever it is.
Okay,
you
this
need.
is-
Let's make sure what you answer here. You asked a great question. Proof.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna tell you what happened. What happened?
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I got a call. Y'all probably know him, our county commissioner, Jeff Yarber. He was our county commissioner. He's passed away now. He's passed away. Me and him used to box together. We grew up together. We boxed. He called me and told me, and they called me Hoop. My nickname was Hoop. They said, Hoop, you better do something. He said, because Karen Bledsoe, Trump and them, they are trying to get her probation. I said, oh, really? This probation over slaughtering my brother, you know. And I said, that ain't going to happen. I said, that can't happen, the way this went down. They proved everything in court that what she done to my brother was all bull crap, you know.
Okay, I'm going to ask you what proof.
Well, I'm just
were
telling you,
referring
I'm trying to get to it.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
I'm trying to get to it. The proof, I don't have the proof, but then I go to Jeff Brewer, Karen's boyfriend, and he tells me, I didn't know about that at the time.
Yeah, and it's proof, so you can't tell me what somebody else told you.
Okay, well, I'll just leave it at that then, because that's all I know. That's all I know.
All right, let me ask this a different way, maybe this will clear it up and make it very simple. When you said, because I got proof on stuff, you're talking about a lot of other things other than this case.
No, I ain't got no proof on none of that as far as Crump no more. I mean, they ain't gonna do nothing about it anyway. They're not. We've been up here for 5 years and nothing's ever happened.
Okay.
And I'm just being honest.
That's all I asked you to do is be honest.
This has put my mama in the ground. It put my uncle's gone now. My grandmother passed away 3 months ago because of all this crap, worrying about all this crap.
Let's let him ask the question. We'll get done with this.
I mean, it tells me, God.
Question. Yes, sir.
1 second, Judge.
Sure.
Thank you for your time. I have no further questions.
Do you have any questions?
Please, Judge, just a couple. Mr. Loesch, on the recording, you told Dana that you had some pictures.
I don't have no pictures. I just told her that to get her to talk to me.
Okay, that was a lie.
That was, yeah. When I told her, I ain't never told that in court or nothing like that, in a lie. But yes.
But that was all a lie.
Yeah, I didn't have no pictures. No, I just got her to just talk to me.
Any other questions?
I have no other questions. Thank you, Judge.
So, sir, you can step down. You're free to stay in the courtroom, free to go, but you can't discuss your testimony with anybody. Can you do that for me?
So could I give you something, Your Honor?
Can you what?
Could I give you something?
Can you give me something? What is it? Just tell me what it is.
It's an affidavit.
An affidavit of what?
Miranda, from 3 months prior to this conviction.
Let me tell you.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. You don't have to, you don't have to give me that, because
Yes,
let me
sir.
tell you what my responsibilities are.
I got you.
I've got all the exhibits back there.
Oh, you got it.
I've gone through them.
Okay.
And then the other thing I've got is, I've got the transcript of every word that was said in here. So part of my job is.
I got you. You gotta figure it all out.
I gotta read all that, I gotta read all those, but I promise you.
I got you.
I promise you, I'm gonna read every single word of that.
I got
Is
you.
that okay?
I've read a lot about you. You're a good guy.
hope it's not
Good guy,
bad.
man. Good guy.
Okay, have a good day. Thanks, sir.
All right, man.
So council, it's 12:20, so why don't we go ahead and break for lunch? And if y'all wanna come back here at 1:30, then we'll start back, if that's convenient. Good. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. We don't know the area, but we'll make it work that quick. So.
I don't okay, 1:30. All right, go have a nice lunch. Thank you.
All rise.
Did you speak to Rockport? Did you speak to Rockport? Because I was going to excuse him, but you've already.
I think we